Stats, Scoresworthy, and Brian Davis.
I'm Bryant and Brett with you. No Brett today, but it's Bryant and Darian as Brett is out today through Wednesday. He'll be back on Thursday, a little vacation time for Brett. But Bryant and Darian here with you for the next 3 hours. Plenty to get into. It was a busy weekend with college football, with the NFL. We got to talk the Tigers. They lost over the weekend on the road at Texas San Antonio. Basketball team, they get things started tonight against Missouri. We already have some breaking news with Tiger basketball that we got to get to as well. But a ton to get into over these next 3 hours. Darian, I guess a couple places we could start. I wanted to start with Tiger football, but before we do that, I just want to throw this out there, and hopefully there are people listening that are interested in going and supporting the Tigers tonight at FedEx Forum as they start the season against Missouri. Our great partners over at Sissy's Log Cabin, they're the sponsor for our listener line. You can be a part of the show on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. Our good friends at Sissy's Log Cabin, they hook us up every single home Tiger football game with tickets. We're going to be doing the same thing for Tiger basketball. So we have a couple pairs of tickets for tonight's game to give away. We're going to give those away right now on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. If you want to go to tonight's game, Memphis versus Missouri, be the first caller to 901-360-8255. We've got a handful of tickets to give away today, so we'll give one pair away today. We'll give a couple pairs away later. But if you want to go out tonight and support Penny Hardaway and this Tiger team, go ahead and call the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line right now, 901-360-8255. Well, that was good news, and we'll get back to Tiger basketball and talk some good news with Tiger basketball. But we do got to talk about the loss. Memphis dropped another one on Saturday, their second loss of the season. Football team did to UTSA on the road in the Alamo Dome. We talked about it earlier, Darian. Just the house of horrors that the Alamo Dome has turned into.
House of horrors.
It really is. It hadn't been fun. You go back to 2008 and what happened there in the national championship game with Memphis versus Kansas was not fun. And then now what happened a couple days ago for the football team was not fun. The Tigers came out and really looked good to start the game. You look at their first 4 offensive possessions, all ended with points. It was 3 touchdowns and a field goal. And then after that, really the offense just kind of shut down pretty much for the rest of the game and did not look good. And that's really kind of been the story of the year. We kind of talked all year about this offense just doesn't feel like they are playing to the expectation that a lot of people had going into the season. And so, it really, it bit them on Saturday against this UTSA defense. That UTSA came into this game, and I really don't think UTSA is that great of a team. But, they come out and they're able to score a couple touchdowns late in that first half, tie the game at 24-24 at the half, and then they just dominated in the second half. 20 points in the second half for UTSA. Now, Memphis scored 2 late touchdowns to keep it close, 44-36 the final score. But before those 2 late touchdowns, that game was not close at all. UTSA dominated most of the second quarter and the entire second half. And so, it was a frustrating loss. If you're a Tiger fan, I think, there were a lot of people, and I think I was in there, trying to hold out hope of, you win out and, something happens here, something happens there. I think Navy was the team you're kind of circling as, they drop a couple games, you're right back in there. And now it is significantly more difficult to put yourself in that spot to at least be in the conference championship game. It feels like you're playing the long game now if you're the Tigers trying to get into that game. And it came on a loss that was of a team that was 3-5 entering that game.
Yeah, a team that they were wholeheartedly expected to beat. not only it's a, you don't want to use the D word that Brett is banned
It's
from the
disappointing.
show. I mean, this was disheartening. This was every kind of expletive you can give because you'd expect a better effort. That's what you're looking for. This wasn't a heartbreaker or something that came down to an inch or two. This was us just giving this away.
Yeah, no,
we gave this away.
You're absolutely right. And you kind of go back to that hot start by the Memphis offense. First 4 offensive possessions ended in scores. You had the touchdown run by Mario Anderson. You had a field goal. You had back-to-back Demir Blankenship touchdown receptions. And it was the second one, a 69-yard touchdown reception, where he hit the celebration that we will talk about more in our next segment when we talk Tiger football.
Celebration heard around the world.
Yes, it went viral on social media. The Ronaldo Selly, he got injured. He kind of came back in for a brief second in the second half, but just couldn't give anything. And now Ryan Silverfield said earlier today when speaking to the media that he's unsure if Demir Blankenship will be able to play this weekend. But after that, Tigers just couldn't get anything going. Seth Hennigan threw a couple of interceptions that he would like to have back, and ultimately, like you said, I guess one interception for Seth Hennigan. But he'd like to have that one back, and ultimately, I think Ryan Silverfield would say the same thing. This was a game where you just got beat. Like you said, Darian, this was not a last-second Hail Mary.
Wasn't Virginia and Virginia Tech and Miami?
Sure,
yeah, this wasn't that at all.
No,
at all.
This was they. You went into their place and they beat you. Straight up. And so now Memphis, quick turnaround. As Friday night, they will host Rice, a Rice team that just got done pulling an upset over Navy. So they're coming in with some momentum. They had just fired their head coach before that Navy game. And we'll see. How do the Tigers respond?
Now it's about finishing strong. Yeah. Finishing the season strong.
That's right. Darren, for those who haven't been listening to Sports 56 all day, and I don't know what you're doing if you're not listening to Sports 56 all day, we were in for Dave Woloshin earlier today, and you had a soundbite of Ryan Silverfield. I don't think we have enough time to play it because I want to get to Tiger basketball news. But
he said as such.
In that statement, he basically said, we're going to see who wants it, who
loves the program, who loves football. He challenged his team from a standpoint of who playing for the tiger on the front of the chest instead of the last name on the back, as well as who just loves the game of football.
Yeah.
Like this was Coach showing some cojones instead of just moping or saying, "Hey guys, the season is over." This is what he's challenging his guys not to do: is say the season is over. Yeah.
So we will. We'll talk more about that in our next segment with Jonah Dillon. But now Tigers at home against Rice, at home against UAB. They'll end the season, the regular season at least, on the road against Tulane. Tiger basketball, they get the season started tonight against Missouri. I believe we had a winner for our first pair of Tiger basketball tickets. If you weren't able to get in on that, we'll give a couple more pairs away later in the show. Maybe at 4 o'clock when we talk to David Cobb, we might give away a couple more pairs of tickets for that big game tonight, 7 o'clock against Missouri. But we did have some breaking news just about an hour ago. Tyreek Smith, who was the center of a story about, a month ago, you'd say?
A little less.
Maybe a little less than a month ago. For those who living under a rock when it comes to Tiger basketball, Tyreek Smith, it was a Sunday night, I believe, and reports started coming out that Tyreek Smith had left the program. He would be entering the transfer portal. And then it became, what happened? NIL issues. Jason Munns comes out and says, we're receiving, a statement from the university that says he has not left the program, that he's just asked for a couple of days away from the team, but that he has not left the program. And then his mentor, Boog Knight, I believe was his name, went out on social media kind of, all out tweeting about this and that and everything, and the collective isn't doing what it's supposed to do. He was promised this and that and hasn't gotten
Took
anything.
the coach off the hook, said this was not Penny.
Did say, this is not Penny, that Penny wants what's best. It's a lot of other people that are the issue. Then Tyreek Smith returned to the team. Everything seems fine. Everything's okay. Everyone's telling us that everything is okay. Well, now, about an hour ago, Jason Munn's reporting that Tyreek Smith has left the program and has entered the transfer portal. So he is officially in the transfer portal, and it sounds like, because a lot of people have been commenting on this, and, when did they find out? Because obviously, first game, it's game day. How in the world does this news come out on game day? And Jason Munns has said that the team has known since at least Saturday. So I think there's a lot of questions about what happened, what was going on behind the scenes, what got us to this point. We talked to Jason Munns on Friday about a lot of things, but we asked him about Tyreek Smith. This was back when Tyreek Smith was back with the team, back with the program. We asked him to kind of share a little bit of the backstory of what was going on behind the scenes that got us to the point where Tyreek Smith left the team. Some people thought he was in the transfer portal and now is back. So this is what Jason Munns had to say on Friday, kind of a little bit of the story that maybe paints a better picture of how we've gotten to this point.
So from what I've been able to gather, and I've talked to Tyreek's mom, and I've talked to, now, of course, we've talked to Penny, and I was talking to Tyreek's mentor. You mentioned him, Boog Knight. I was talking to him throughout this whole thing. And even some people behind the scenes on the Memphis side who were kind of, keeping me in the loop about what was going on. And the understanding that I have is that there were some misunderstandings, shall we say, I think on both sides, on the Memphis side and the Tyreek Smith side, about the NIL arrangement that they had set up. And it was again, I think it was, an innocent, more or less, an innocent misunderstanding on both sides. They just, one side thought one thing, one side thought the other, and neither side realized necessarily that there was an issue until tensions sort of came to a head a couple of weeks ago when Tyreek, he did not feel well, and so he asked to be excused from a study hall, and he was granted that. Like the study hall coordinator said, sure, go, feel better, get well. And that did not sit well with some of the members of the Memphis coaching staff. They, thought that he should have toughed it out, or whatever. They thought he should have stayed in study hall. And because he missed it, he was made to, there were, as coaches and as it happens in athletics, they made him run. They held him accountable. They made him run. He showed up. He ran. He did his laps or whatever he had to do. And then, people, passionate people, things happen. Sure. And it got heated a little bit, and some things were said. And Tyreek, that at that point, Tyreek was like, "I'd like some time to go clear my head," basically. And it somehow that got twisted into he was leaving the program. Obviously, that was never the case. And he missed 2 practices, and he was back within a couple of days, and that was the end of that. But it truly is just it's just a weird place that we're in right now, where a guy, this stuff is not exclusive to Memphis. Like, people get mad at each other. People who work together get mad at each other. It happens. But that doesn't mean that you're gonna leave. That doesn't mean you're gonna quit your job. So it's just the nature of the beast when it comes to the world we live in today.
So basically, according to Jason Munns, and again, this is going back to the first issue we had. This is not what has happened. I'm sure something else has happened that has gone here. But this whole kind of tiff, this situation originally started because of a, as he called it, innocent misunderstanding. What it sounds like from his reporting, from other things I've read and other things I've heard, that when Tyreek Smith committed and enrolled at the University of Memphis, that maybe he was promised some things NIL-wise, maybe he was promised playing time, a starting role, whatever it might be. And it sounds like maybe those promises came from maybe a coach that is no longer on this roster. Don't know which one it was. Don't know if that's even true. But that's kind of how this sounds, right? Like innocent misunderstanding that nobody really knew what was going on. That sounds like somebody that's not there anymore said something, did something, and now it's not working out like that.
Broken promises, man.
Right. So then it all kind of boiled over because he was forced to run after missing a study hall or leaving a study hall early, probably not getting some work done. I'm sure it wasn't just, hey, I didn't feel good, I missed a study hall, but I did all my work, we're good, my grades are fantastic. It was probably something else. So he ran and asked for a couple days off, and that's kind of where all of this started. Now we know from other reporting that there was a meeting, there was the two sides met, and there was some form of resolution in terms of NIL, promises, expectations. He was back, he was fine, he was ready to go. Now, something has happened since then to, I guess, last week, where he wasn't fine anymore. And now he's away from the program, he has entered the transfer portal, and no longer going to be a part of this team. Which I think a lot of people would say, cool, guy wasn't going to start anyway. And I agree.
And if you believe the reports that came out, he was getting paid some pretty decent scratch to, I guess, for lack of better words, just bring 8 points a game to the table. So,
And I do think he would have been a good option to have off the bench. I think he would have been a really good backup. At that 4, you could probably even slide him in as a small ball 5 if you needed to. Maybe whatever injuries or foul situations that might occur. But now you kind of look at this roster, it's a little thin down low, and so it's gonna be a question. And I'm curious to see how it looks tonight with him not in the rotation. Do we see kind of lack of depth in the front court tonight against Missouri? And, we'll talk a lot more about this game throughout the show because we need to go ahead and get to top and not top story. But breaking news, just a couple hours before the Tigers hit the floor against Missouri, Tyreek Smith is no longer with the program. He's entered the transfer portal now. Like I said, Jason Munns is reporting that the team has known about this since at least Saturday.
That his plan was to exit?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And so what my guess would be is that you have to go to specific people in the athletic department in the university to enter the transfer portal. They have to, formally put that in. They don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. They have the weekends. So it was today, it was Monday when they were able to process that, send it off, and that's when, Jason Munns and Parth.
And he did Munnsy did a great job, because what I took away from it was the one day that Smith took away or the time off. That was hugely misconstrued. So great reporting by him to say, hey, that was just to clear his head. Yeah. That wasn't an initial abort mission.
Right, because now it could be, has he now left the program twice? Did he just need a couple days off? At least according to Jason Munns, he
just needs to clear his head.
Needed a couple days off. But we're going to talk a lot more about the Tigers, and especially this game tonight against Missouri throughout the show. Let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about the loss against UTSA on Saturday, what he saw, what he thought about the celebration that has now turned into an injury, what he's thought of this season, and now where this team goes after taking their second loss of the season. 3:45, we'll get back into the Memphis, Missouri conversation. We'll also get to Tiger bankroll. Darren, you You ready for some Tiger bankroll?
Scratch is ready to be laid.
It can get a little heated at times with Tiger bankroll. It's intense, but we'll tell you our picks for tonight in this Memphis, Missouri game. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports. He'll join us, talk some college football and some college basketball. It was a fun weekend of college football, but also opening night tonight, actually opening day. We've already got a couple finals and a couple games going on right now in the world of college basketball. So we'll talk a lot of hoops with him, a lot of football with him as well. We'll do that at 4 o'clock. 4:30, we'll get into our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC, go through all of the games over the weekend and what we saw in those. 4:45, big number of the day. 5 o'clock, usually DeMichael Cole joins us on Mondays at 5 with the Grizzlies on the road today, and we're unfortunately not going to be able to catch up with DeMichael. We'll talk to him again next Monday, but in that 5 o'clock segment, we'll talk some Grizzlies to start the hour. They got a win over the weekend over Philadelphia. We'll talk about that. We'll preview tonight's game against Brooklyn, but then we'll get into our W's and L's for the Tiger basketball season. Brett and I have been kind of talking about this last week that we were going to do this. I have Brett's, even though he is out. Darren, you've brought yours. I've brought mine as well. So we'll go through wins and losses for the Tiger basketball team. Then at 5:30, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Also, our top 4 quarterbacks combined for Kansas City and Tampa Bay. And then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together, and they've got a great deal going on right now. It's the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, and arcade games. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating, all priced to move. It's the special fire pit weather, and all fire pits are 20 to 30% off, and spas are up to $1,500 off, in stock and ready for delivery. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. I already mentioned it once, but you can be a part of the show by hitting up the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. And as always, this hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. A perfect time to get over to Lexus and get that new vehicle, and we appreciate Lexus for being a part of the show every single afternoon. Well, Darian, let's go ahead and get to top story of the day.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the Tigers' loss on Saturday to UTSA. I think a lot of people looked at this season, and we all had the high expectations. It was go big, go for it all, go for that playoff spot. Then you get nicked up against Navy, and I think a lot of people kind of turned their way of thinking. There were some people that said, well, season's over, and there were other people that were saying, well, you still have everything ahead of you. If you win out, if you beat Tulane at the end of the season, maybe Navy gets scratched up a little bit, you can get back into that conversation for the conference championship game. And if you're in the conference championship game, that means you're in the conversation for a playoff spot. But ultimately, I believe that came to an end yesterday, or at least I shouldn't say it came to an end. It makes it really tough.
It did.
It did. I'm afraid to say it did. That loss was just a loss that you can't take. I understand it's on the road, but UTSA is not a team that scares you. I don't think anybody was saying last week, oh man, look out. And honestly, kind of the same conversation it felt like we were having, and I heard a lot of other people having around Navy, right? Where everyone was kind of saying it was before we knew, Navy was a much better team than they've been the last couple of years. It felt like a lot of people were saying, oh, it's Navy. Once you get over that weird, quirky offense they run,
we should be fine. We're the Tigers. We should be fine.
Right. And then they go and lose that game. It felt like the same thing against UTSA. They're 7.5-point favorites on the road. And that's pretty significant on the road in a conference game. I think a lot of people thought they would get the job done, and ultimately they weren't able to do it. You look, I've mentioned it a couple of times now, first 4 drives of the game, 4 scoring drives. You had a touchdown, a field goal, then back-to-back touchdowns, and after that, the offense couldn't get anything going. And on the flip side, it was kind of a slow start for UTSA, and then they kind of figured something out and really started rolling. You look at what they did. It was, a they had a couple touchdowns in that first half to make it 24-24. They had some field goals, touchdowns, and then in the second half, they really dominated. They punted on their first possession, then it was touchdown, field goal, punt, and then scored again late in the fourth quarter to make it 41-24. So it was one of those games. Offense didn't give you much, and unfortunately, the defense could not come up with the stops when they needed them.
Well, breaking news, the other team has mothers, fathers, and they have pride too. They're not just going to lay down for us because we're the Tigers.
That's right.
My top story of the day is the home opening of the Memphis Tigers basketball. Memphis has won 21 straight home openers dating back to 2003. The Tigers' last loss in a home opener was November 22nd, 2002 to the great Austin Peay. That was a horrible loss.
Wow, let's go P.
Yeah, 81-80 in overtime. The Tigers have also won 6 straight season openers, with the last loss dating back to number 25 Alabama, which we just played a few weeks ago and took a loss as well. Wow. Little history for the Missouri Tigers. Season history versus those Tigers. Memphis and Missouri have met 13 times before in the Bluff City. The Tigers lead 8-5.
Wow.
Last season, the teams met for the first time in 15 years, with Memphis overcoming a 14-point deficit to earn a 70-55 victory in Columbia. Memphis owns a 5-1 home record versus Missouri, last facing off in 2003 here in the Bluff City. Missouri's only win in Memphis came on December 27th, 1989. It was a 71-65 victory. I was digging in my stats bag right there. Right?
I see that.
I guess that was on me, right?
There you go.
Story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, I'm going to stay right there, and I do not have all of the history nuggets that you have, but I am excited for the Tigers basketball season to get started tonight against Missouri. Look, this is going to be a lot different than what last year's game was. If you remember last year's game, it was the second game of the season, but also early in the season. It was Tigers' second game. It was a Friday night when they traveled up to Missouri, really struggled in the first half, and then came out and looked completely different in that second half and ended up getting the win. But both of these teams are going to look much, much, much different. We know the Tigers only returned one player from last year's team in Missouri. Very similar. They have a ton of new pieces, so it's going to be a lot of new faces and a lot of different playmakers. And now we know the Tigers will be without one of the guys they recruited and brought in for this season. Tyreek Smith is done with his career, short-lived career, as a Memphis Tiger as he entered the transfer portal today. So what does that front court look like? I think earlier today that was not on my list. It probably was on my list of things to watch for, but now it's gone to number one. What does the front court look like, and what does that depth look like? Are they able to plug and play guys? Are they able to run small ball lineups where they maybe run a Colby Rogers or somebody that would be more traditionally a 3 at the 4? Do they just give more minutes to those big men? It's going to be a lot to keep an eye on, but we'll see. You just brought up some great numbers of what the Tigers have done in recent history
against them
at home and in home and season opener. So I feel good about the Tigers.
Bodes well.
I'm hoping that there is a lot of excitement and buzz for this Tiger team. It's a great non-conference schedule, but there are going to be games out there that are going to be really difficult for the Tigers to win. And in games like this where they're favored, they have, excitement for the start of the season, they have to capitalize on these games early in the season. All
right, and my not top story, and I know we all I know myself, I like to clown the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, so on and so forth, but this is not the day for it. Coming off another hard-fought loss, because I do think they played hard. I just don't think they're that talented. To get the news that Dak Prescott is going to be out for the next couple of weeks. And CeeDee Lamb as well, on top of not having Micah out there. D. Lawrence in and out. I think this is a sad day for you guys. I mean, no team likes to hear our season may be over. But in all honesty, like the Raiders, who are 2-7 and other horrid teams, the season may be over, and it may be right now. Cooper Rush, 5-1. He's been solid. Hey, look on the bright side. But I think it's a chance or an opportunity for you guys to see what we did not see in Trey Lance, and possibly Dak could have played his last game in Dallas. I mean, you moved or trade him or something. You don't hope for the worst then, but this is not the day, I don't believe, to clown you guys, because you guys are hurting, and if you're going to turn the season around, it has to happen now. But I don't know how you do that without your $60 million quarterback.
There is no May there. The season's over. Nobody's going to want to trade for Dak. He's getting too much money. I'm kind of with you. Why don't you just throw Trey Lance in there, see if he's got anything, and because I don't think you're doing anything with
But you know what you're getting from Cooper Rush.
Exactly.
And from a standpoint of what Jerry really is at his soul, a moneymaker, eyeballs will be on Trey Lance, whether he flip-flops, whatever. Next 2 weeks can be all about Trey Lance, so you guys can sell some more tickets.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we are late for a break, so let's go ahead and grab that. When we come back, we're talking more Tiger football with Jonah Dillon.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
If there's a better time of year to spend some time in the comfortable confines of Bell Tavern, I don't know what it is. This time of year, when the air is getting crisp and college football, the NFL, the Grizzlies, and the Tigers are all playing, is the ideal time to grab a seat at Memphis' best-kept secret. We say it all the time, and it's still true. You could go to some chain bar where people tend to make a lot of noise, or you could settle into Bell Tavern, where people tend to act like adults. There will be cheering, and there will be jeering, but it won't be chaos, because at Bell Tavern, it's assumed you'll act like a grown-up.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20-plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens. And it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack Snoresworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. No Brett today. Bryant and Darian filling in for him. We're about to talk some Tiger football with Jonah Dillon. This is what I saw early Saturday morning before the Tigers game. It's Halloween weekend, so here's a ghost story. This is the first time the Memphis Tigers have played in this stadium since April 7th, 2008. Somewhere down there is a ghost wearing number 15, moving to his left, and no one is fouling him. Jonah, thanks for joining us. I hated seeing that tweet Saturday morning. It only brought up bad memories from the past, and then it only got worse throughout the next 3 hours as the Tigers lost on the road to UTSA. The Alamo Dome has really turned into a house of horrors for the Tigers, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit eerie in there. I noticed after I sent out that tweet that some people were obviously unhappy about it. They said that it was too soon. I will say it's too soon 16 and a half years later. I don't know when we're going to be able to talk about it.
It's a good point.
But it was crazy because obviously Memphis had played one time against UTSA, but that game was in Memphis. They were supposed to play UTSA during the COVID season, but that game didn't happen. And so this was the first time that any version of the Memphis Tigers were in that stadium. And they left with, like you said, it didn't get any better, and they left with another ghost story to tell next time they end up back there. The only potential positive on the eve of the start of college basketball season is that the Final Four this season is going to be at the Alamo Dome. So if you have high hopes, there's a potential opportunity for the Memphis Tigers to undo that one or to get one more shot at the Alamo Dome in a little bit.
Well, it was a weird game, especially from the offensive standpoint, because they come out, they look really good. It feels like the offense is clicking. The first 4 drives of the game for the Tigers all resulted in points, 3 touchdowns, and a field goal. But after that, it felt like kind of the same story we've been talking about all season, where the offense has kind of come up short. They're not as explosive as we thought they were. What did you see change other than maybe an injury that we'll get to in a second? What changed from kind of those first 4 drives to the rest of the game?
Yeah, it was really, especially coming out after halftime, what happened in that third quarter was the game right there. I mean, that's when Memphis lost the game, because by the time they got it back into gear with those missed fourth down conversions and a lot of the short fields, then the turnovers, right, the interception by Seth Hennigan, the fumble by Rock Taylor, and then the short fields, it was only a matter of time, even though the defense actually played pretty well in the second half. Like, they were holding UTSA to field goals and to missed opportunities a lot of the time, even though they were getting set up with these short fields. They'd fallen too far behind, and it was too much to overcome in those final minutes. And I think that's the question that we're going to be grappling with for a while. I mean, we're going to look back on this season, depending on how it goes the next 3 games, but really the season was kind of lost against UTSA, regardless of what happens next. And that third quarter, the offense not being able to move the ball is what it comes down to. And we've seen it throughout the season. It's been up and down. There's been a lot of times where they've struggled to move the ball. The offense hasn't looked like what we thought it would in the preseason. And that was kind of a microcosm of it, was that third quarter where they just couldn't get anything going. And they didn't run the ball, right? It was all passes. Now, Ryan Trofield talked about it today. It's not like Mario Anderson was having a huge game in the first half running the ball, but he only had 1 carry in the second half. And so they did just abandon the run, and they weren't able to get it done in the passing game. And ultimately, that's going to be one of the stories of this season.
Yeah. Well, I think Darian called it the celebration heard around the world earlier when we talked about it. Demir Blankenship scores a long touchdown. He goes to celebrate. He does the classic Ronaldo celly and comes down and immediately grabs his leg and came back in for a little bit, but didn't do anything after that injury. And now Ryan Silverfield said earlier today when speaking to the media that he's not sure if Blankenship will play Friday night against Rice. A fun celebration, but ultimately could have been a big piece in kind of the lack of explosiveness for the Tigers.
Yeah, well, he was having a huge game before that. I mean, 2 touchdowns, I think, 142 yards or something like that, just in the first half, right? Because he didn't get anything in the second half. And that was kind of the moment where everything turned. If you look back, Memphis was up by 10 points when he walked to the end zone, and that was it. I mean, it's been the story for the last 2 seasons. Once Demir Blankenship gets behind the defense, it's over, right? And so once we saw that he was there and Hennigan was going to get the ball to him, that was going to be a touchdown. And he jumps up to make that celebration, and then UTSA scores 30 unanswered points.
Yeah.
And then the game is over at that point. And, yeah, I mean, like you said before, I think that it's fair to say that because of the success he was having in the second half, they would have continued to target him, and UTSA would have either had to continue to deal with it or they would have had to adjust, and then somebody else would have been open. And I think that did hurt them. I think that the receivers, Jair Shorter, another receiver, went out in the first half. He was injured. Rock Taylor was banged up in that game. It looked like Van Feer, the tight end, was banged up. So there's a lot going on there, but I think that definitely affected what happened in the second half. And it's going to be something we remember, right? Because everybody saw it. Everybody saw the way that happened. And it's just one of those things that is just so random. You know, you come down your leg after doing that celebration. Has it ever happened to Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Like,
no, but it happened to Bill Gramatica kicking field goals once upon a time.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay, Jonah. So, from a fan's perspective, we all knew that the ceiling was supposedly the college football playoff. So what I would like for you to do is temper our listeners and fans' emotions. What, from a fan's perspective, should be the floor right now? What should we expect no less than knowing what we know now?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a good question. I think I've been trying to temper emotions looking at my Twitter mentions all day with some of the things that have been said today. But I think that the next three games, Memphis is going to be favored to beat Rice, and it's going to be favored to beat UAB, and then it's going to be an underdog against Tulane, most likely. And if you go 10-2, I think people are going to be unhappy, and it makes sense, right? We talked about it, and you just mentioned it there. We spent all offseason talking about playoff expectations, and nobody really raised their hand and said that's not a good expectation. I don't think Memphis can make the playoff, right? It would be one thing if we said Memphis is going to win the national championship. I don't think a lot of people said that, right? I know Brett said they were going to go undefeated and have a bye, and that Hennigan was going to New York in December. But I think that, like, most people were pretty, and even nationally, a lot of people were picking Memphis to go to the playoffs, and that means that was the expectation. And so if you go 10-2 or you go 9-3 and you don't make the conference title game, then you didn't meet expectations. Like, this was a team that was picked to finish first in the conference. And so those are high expectations, right? Because you have to win to meet them. But the reality is that Memphis isn't going to do that. And so I think when you look at floor, I mean, the floor for a lot of people was getting to the AAC title game. And this is below that. And so I don't know that there's a huge difference at the end of the season between 9 wins and 10 wins, when what we were talking about before the season wasn't necessarily about numbers. It was about where they ended up in December.
Mm-hmm. Jonah, what have you seen this year from the offense? I feel like we have the conversation a lot about, well, the offense isn't as explosive as we thought they would be going into the season. They haven't, put up the points. They haven't been, whatever you might want to say about this offense with everything they brought back and what they added through the portal. What have you seen? Is there anything specifically you've seen from this offense that has been maybe the reason that they aren't as explosive this year as maybe we thought, or did we just have too high expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying that question really, like, I think we're going to be litigating that for a long until the start of next season. Like, I don't think that's even an exaggeration, because the reason, like you said, the reason that we had these expectations was because of the offense and because of the firepower and the players that were coming back. By the way, almost all of whom are going to be gone after this season. And so the conversation next year is going to be a totally different one. But I think that when you look at all these games, there's been a lot of situations where plays are just a couple inches off or their foot off. And those are the kind of things that you would not expect from this team, from players who have been together for so long, right? You have a new offensive line. I don't think that the offensive line has been that bad. They've had some issues in the last two games. They've been shuffling guys in and out, including on Saturday, making changes in game, which I'm sure is obviously difficult for people to deal with. Gabriel Hill moving across the line multiple times in the game.
Yeah.
And there's been some games where Seth Hennigan has been under pressure, but for the most part, it's been okay. I think we need to spend more and more probably looking back and saying, man, if Sutton Smith hadn't gone down the first quarter of the first game, maybe we wouldn't be looking at it like this, because obviously he'd been planning to play a huge role. They spent all, obviously next minute mentality and all that, but there's nobody who can match his skill set on this team. And they spent the offseason thinking about how they were going to use him in a much bigger role than they had in the past. And then that all goes down the drain after one game and you got to reset. I think the way that defenses, one thing the way that defenses have approached this offense, I think is different, right? Like, Rock Taylor has gotten a lot of attention. He's gotten more attention than he did last season. because last season he was having a breakout year, right? It was kind of throughout the season, people and even other defenses are realizing that this is somebody they need to pay more attention to. And now this year, they knew that from the jump, and so they defended him differently. If you look at even with Rock Taylor, he's had better games the past few games, I think, because Memphis has adjusted against the adjustments, but it took a long time to get him going.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, look, Seth Hennigan statistically had a really good game on Saturday, but he hasn't put up the same numbers that he has in the past. And I think that's a lot of people are going to leave thinking things about Seth Hennigan and thinking that he's disappointed this season. I think it's unfortunate because obviously this is a conversation we'll continue to have over the next 3 weeks and until the rest of the season. But when you look back on his legacy as a Memphis Tiger, now he has all these records and stuff. Obviously, it's not going to end the way that he wanted it to, but he's still somebody who's just had a huge impact on this program. And I think a lot of those records are going to take a long time for somebody to be able to get to that.
Mm-hmm. Last thing for you, Jonah. Friday night, quick turnaround for the Tigers. They host Rice Friday night at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Ryan Silverfield spoke after the game about how they're gonna see and they're gonna learn who really cares about this program and who really cares about the name on the front of the jersey instead of the back with how they perform Friday night against Rice. This Rice team that just beat the same Navy team that beat the Tigers. Now that was a weird game. They had multiple rain delays. It was kind of an all-day rain delay. They played later Saturday night. What do you expect to see Friday? Can this Tiger team rebound and get a win against Rice, or do you think we see some of the guys moping around and saying maybe season's over?
Yeah, it feels like one or the other type thing because, I mean, look, we just spent all this time talking about how the season is over, right? And that's what the conversation has been around this program with the fans, certainly, in the last couple of days. And understandably so. Like we said, the expectations are to go to the playoffs. You're not going to do that, so it feels like an end.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you got to go play a football game on Friday. And this team, it's a weird one, right? So they fired their coach, which means they weren't having a great season, but they also beat UTSA and Navy, which are the two teams that Memphis lost to. And they're in a situation where they have nothing to lose. Now, I think part of the Navy win, like you said, is a really weird situation. Also, you always see it when teams fire their coach, they get a bump the next game, right? Because guys are excited. And so maybe we'll see a little bit of a come down on this game. And also the game's starting at 8 o'clock at night, so maybe people will be asleep by the time the game ends. But I think there's the potential for – it's going to be interesting how Memphis responds, right? Because in some sense, like we just said, what are they playing for the rest of the season? In the other sense, like, yeah, you just had a pretty embarrassing, demoralizing loss. Are you going to respond, or are you going to use that to, like you said, just check out? I don't think we'll see that, but there is the potential for things to go from bad to worse because we see it across college football all the time. And so that adds like a little bit of intrigue, I think, to this game, even though it feels like just expectations and everything this season means has dropped a lot, given what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting Friday night, like you mentioned, 8 o'clock start between Memphis and Rice. Jonah, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonah. Jonah Dillon joins us every single Monday afternoon to talk Tiger football. A little more difficult when you're talking a loss instead of a win.
Yeah, but he was well-tempered, and obviously he's been keeping fans off the ledge all day because he was ready for that. He's like, man, I've been emotionally suppressing people all day.
Yeah, he was ready for those questions for sure. Well, let's go ahead, get to a break. When we come back, talk about this matchup tonight, Memphis and Missouri. We'll also get to Tiger Bankroll. That's next on Sports Time.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sometimes you just want the naked facts, like the fun that comes from a quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This naked-style streetlight sports a narrow 471cc twin, along with a sleek TFT display, dual-disc front brakes, and standard ABS, all at an affordable price. Find fun in all the right places in the 2024 Honda CB500F. Available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Women Road in Olive Branch.
The best I do's start with Sissy's Blue. Discover bridal jewelry worthy of your big day at Sissy's Log Cabin, along with our spectacular experience that comes with our promise of exceptional quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Experience our expansive selection when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Find your perfect engagement ring only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Staff, Sports Ruby, and Brian Davis.
All right, it's game day for the Tigers. They kick off their season today. We've had a couple of games going on. Right now, we have a matchup between St. Louis and Santa Clara going on right now. This kid for Santa Clara, Swoop is his last name, number 1. Guy's hitting crazy shots. I mean, he just had a step-back 3 to bring Santa Clara bring St. Louis within 3. Robbie Avila, you remember him? Vila, however you say his last name, the guy with the goggles for Indiana State last year.
Oh, yeah.
Kareem Abdul
Yeah.
So he's now at St. Louis.
NIL is something else, baby.
His coach got the
job.
Okay.
Okay.
So this wasn't like a direct NIL thing. This was like he loves his coach so much he followed him to St. Louis, and he just got injured a couple minutes ago.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He went off putting no weight on his right foot, so hopefully he's all right.
Well, I guess before you move forward, let me apologize to you for giving you that bad beat earlier today. So earlier, the number 20 Lady Rebels who played in Paris, France, were 10-point dogs?
Yes, they
10-point dogs. Correct. And they ultimately lost today to Juju Watkins and the USC Trojans, but the ladies covered.
How about this? So I went home and was watching that game. It was a great game. It was a fantastic game. USC was up by 15.
They were.
And like you just mentioned, and Ole Miss comes back. I live bet Ole Miss money line at like plus 130, and it was like, all right, defense is looking good. They're making shots. Ultimately, weren't able to do it, but it was a great game. I was glad I watched it, but shame on me for doubling.
And then the Lady Tigers, want to get that in too. Lady Tigers won today. Yeah, they won 89-78 against Mississippi Valley State at El Marone Fieldhouse.
Good for them. Anytime you start the season 1-0, you feel really, really good. But we got to talk about the Tigers and what they're going to do tonight against Missouri. We mentioned it earlier. New look teams for both. Memphis comes in after really hitting the portal hard last year. We know about all of the additions that they made. Only one returnee from last year's team. But you look on the other side at Missouri. kind of the same thing. They brought in a lot of guys through the transfer portal, brought in some good pieces. Tony Perkins, who was at Iowa last year, really good player. Mark Mitchell, who was at Duke last year, good player. So I think they're going to be better. Their last win, we're going on a long time since the last time they won a game. December 20th was the last time Missouri won a basketball game. They were winless through conference play. I believe it was like a 17-game losing streak.
I thought it was 0-18.
Maybe
right?
it was 18. Something around there. So they're really, really looking for a win. Really trying to get that first win of the season under their belt on the road tonight. So we'll see what happens. I'm really interested for both sides to see what happens tonight. But we do, before we run out of time here, we got to get to Tiger Bankroll. So for anybody who does not know about Tiger Bankroll, not with us last year when we were doing Tiger Bankroll, we start with $1,000. Fake money, of course. We start with $1,000. We bet on every Tiger basketball game. There is no juice or anything. So if you start with $1,000, if you put $50 on tonight's game for the Tigers, if they cover tomorrow or next time we pick, you have $1,050. If you lose, next time we pick, you'll have $950. So with all that being said, we're playing Tigers minus 4.5. Your pick, Darian.
Yep. So I am giving the 4.5. I am expecting everyone in the city of Memphis to cram into the FedEx Forum. Let's see, we're 16,000 strong. I think that's what we are pretty much.
Yeah.
And let's give a hell of a home court advantage, man.
I love that.
Penny needs you. Penn. T-Money. Penn needs you. This is huge. Like, man's going into his, 7th season, and he needs this. So, betting with my heart.
And how much money from your heart are you putting on?
I don't love them that much. $50.
$50 for the Tigers. Brett is going to take Missouri plus 4.5.
He didn't hear those stats. Stats didn't hear the stats.
I guess not. So he's going to take Missouri. But I guess with his logic, Tigers can still win, and
absolutely,
they cover. But he's going to take Missouri for $75.
What? I'm cheaper than him? Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to see, was he being cheap?
Connor is going to take Memphis minus 4.5 for $25.
Oh, there we go. Some cheap ones.
And because first game of the season, I don't know. Brand new teams on both sides. I don't really know what to expect. I'm going to take the Tigers for $15.
I thought you were going to do $5. Okay, I'm proud of you.
15. I don't remember. Okay. We'll have to ask Brett. I don't remember what we put the minimum at, but we have a minimum.
What? Min-max? We got a min-max?
Yeah. Well, we don't have a max. You can put all your money on it if you want. I think it'd be a dumb decision, but you can if you want. But I don't remember what the minimum was. It was either 15 might have been the limit, or 10. I think 5 was definitely too little. So we'll have to ask him when he's back later this week and we get to another Tiger Bankroll for this weekend. But hopefully Tigers can get a win.
They better.
We can get a better idea of this Missouri team in our next segment when David Cobb joins us. As everybody knows, David Cobb joins us 4 o'clock every single Monday. We talk college football. We talk college basketball with him. So let's get to a break. And when we come back, we're talking with DC.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quirky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Wilson's Car Wash, residential and commercial pressure washing service you can trust. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacre.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Darian with you. No Brett today. He's out today through Wednesday, but he'll be back on Thursday. He's taking a little time off. No big deal. He'll be back on Thursday. But at 4 o'clock every single Monday, we talk a little college football. We talk a little college basketball, and we do it with David Cobb.
Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is national college football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David, thanks for joining us this afternoon. A lot to get into today. First off, happy opening day for college basketball. I know you're celebrating just as much as I am, probably more because you have more work to do for it, I'm sure. But I want to start with college football before we get to the basketball side, and let's start with the Tigers game. They lose to UTSA on the road early Saturday morning. 2 losses now on the season. The expectations before the season, I think, are out the window. The playoff hopes are gone. It feels like the conference title hopes are pretty slim to none right now. What did you make of Saturday's performance by the Tigers and really this year as a whole throughout the regular season so far?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have any other feeling about it other than just being real disappointed with the way that UTSA game went. Yeah. I mean, they just shut you down for a considerable portion of that game and kept you from doing anything offensively, and that is not a good defense. So that's where it's concerning. It's like they lost their identity this year. I mean, I realized Seth Hennigan figured into that game with a ridiculous stat line, but they couldn't run the football, and then they really couldn't finish drives, and then of course the defense was a problem as well. And so it was a very dispiriting performance because you go into that game as a favorite. UTSA is not what you thought it would be. And, yeah, you look at it before the season, you're like, okay, maybe we take a loss at UTSA. But then it turns out that UTSA isn't very good.
Yeah.
And you go there and take a loss. That's what makes it so frustrating, is because nothing we had seen from UTSA to this point in the season suggested they should be able to beat a Memphis team with that much talent in a fairly convincing fashion. Like, I realized the final score was 1 possession, but, I mean, Memphis kind of had to fight and scratch.
2 touchdowns late,
Yeah, right. Like, it was
it was not as close as the final score indicated. So totally understand why Memphis fans are angry right now, because it feels like this was the perfect season to strike in the American, and they're not going to get it done.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point, because I think if before the season you were going through and doing wins and losses and you had a loss to UTSA, like, it's understandable. You know, we didn't know what they would look like after the Frank Harris era is over. You know, they've got a good coach down there in Jeff Traylor, but then you watch them, and throughout the season, they're not a very good team. And then to make matters worse, just last week on the road against Tulsa, they're leading by, 17 points or something like that. And they let Tulsa come all the way back and win that game. So I think very different from preseason looking at this game to just looking at this game Saturday morning before it started. What have you made of the offense this year for Memphis? Because I've heard a lot of people, and I've said it as well, the offense is not as explosive as we thought it was with everything, or we thought it would be. With everything they brought back, with what they added in the portal, I think a lot of people thought this team would go based on how the offense went, and a lot of people thought that would be really far. But it just has not been as explosive. The production has not really been there. What have you made? Do you think Memphis fans' expectations were maybe a little too high, or have they just underperformed?
I think they've underperformed. I think the expectations were fair. Now, of course, you win 11 games, you get left out of the conference championship game due to other circumstances or whatever, like all those scenarios that we were running through prior to this loss. I don't think you hold that against them if they come to fruition, and you're sitting there at 10 or 11 wins, and you've done everything that you can, right? But now that you're in this situation, I don't think that you can look at the offense and say that it's been anything other than a little bit underwhelming, because they end up with 500-something yards, but the turnovers, the inability to finish drives, that's what's, I think, so frustrating. And so you look at it now, there's something like 60th in the country in red zone offense. The turnover margin is not what you want it to be. Fourth down, big issue against UTSA, 0 for 4, right? And so the ability to execute in the red zone and then in critical short yardage situations, it's just not there.
Yeah.
And whose fault is that? Is it the coach's fault? I don't know. I mean, but it's a concern, especially when you can't run the football against a team like UTSA. And so, yeah, it's a back to the drawing board sort of moment for Ryan Silverfield, because you're losing set 10 again, and you don't really have an heir apparent there unless you're going to start that a true freshman at quarterback next season. Which, I mean, hey, more power to you. But boy, if that's the route you're going to go, then we need to have a serious talk about expectations for the offense next season, because you just don't see a whole lot of true freshman quarterbacks thriving anywhere in college football right now. Go look at Nebraska. They thought Dylan Raiola was going to be their savior, and boy, it's not panning out now, is it? No. And so anyway, that I think that's probably more concerning than anything. It's like, all right, this year hasn't gone the way we thought it would. Now, what are you doing next? Because Hennigan's not going to be back, and some of these other big playmakers are going to be gone too. And then, the expectations within the fan base are going to be just as high. And I don't know, man. Starting a freshman quarterback under those circumstances seems like a potential disaster.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like the most ideal situation, that's for sure. While I was watching that Memphis game on Saturday, I had my YouTube TV pulled up, quad box style, and I was watching the Ole Miss Arkansas game. And I was texting Brett throughout that game, telling him this is the Ole Miss team that we've wanted to see in conference play. I mean, they went out there and on both sides of the ball absolutely dominated Arkansas. Jackson Dart throws for 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, over 500 yards passing. The defense had 8 sacks, I think 13 tackles for loss against this Arkansas offense. Where do you see Ole Miss right now? What did you make of that game, that win over Arkansas?
Yeah, that was much needed. Yeah. We haven't seen Ole Miss's offense look like that since they were playing Wake Forest and Georgia Southern and some of the other the Patsies in their first month of their schedule. And so you wondered if it was even possible for them to go out and have a performance like that against an SEC team. And boy, it wasn't just possible. I mean, that was as good as they've looked offensively all year, as good as they've looked at really at any point under Lane Kiffin. I mean, it was pretty unbelievable, and it was an eye-opening moment to realize, wow, Ole Miss still has this gear in them. And then now you got Georgia coming into your plays. Carson Beck can't stop throwing interceptions. I think all of a sudden the expectations around that Georgia game look a little different now for Ole Miss than they did just a couple of weeks ago when Georgia was coming off that win at Texas and you were really struggling. And, now all of a sudden you look and that game is something close to a toss-up on the Vegas line. So I think you got to be feeling pretty good if you're Ole Miss. And add on the fact you did that performance without Trey Harris at receiver and Caden Priestcorn I barely saw him out there. He didn't have a catch. If he played, it was very little. So, I feel great right now if I'm an Ole Miss fan because that was a dominant offensive performance and the type of showing that makes you feel like you got a pretty good shot against Georgia. And then all of a sudden you beat the Bulldogs and everything's back on the table for you in terms of what you set out to accomplish this season.
Mm-hmm. How good is South Carolina? They got the 44-20 win over Texas A&M. Lenoris Sellers was really, really good with his arm and with his legs. Rocket Sanders had a really good game, and it was a beatdown against Texas A&M. A&M I think led the game at half, but then did not score in the second half. 44-20 that final score. How good is this South Carolina team?
Yeah, they're up and down, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's hard to tell sometimes. Their defense is really good, especially the defensive front. The offense is kind of hit or miss. They're rolling hard with a redshirt freshman at quarterback on Lenoris Sellers, and there's some growing pains there. He's not like an awesome thrower, but man, you see him lower the shoulder sometimes as a runner. I think they his teammates love playing for him because he's tough. He seems to have their respect, which is pretty impressive for such a young player at that position. And he's improving as a passer. Like they're hitting on some downfield shots that you don't necessarily expect them to. And so that's they're a fun team. I like watching South Carolina. They're one of those teams, kind of like a Texas Tech or I don't know. You look around the country. There's a handful of examples of teams that aren't necessarily college football playoff contenders, but who bring it every week and who are able to pull an upset, from time to time. I'd say Vanderbilt's another team just like that. And so that kind of makes this South Carolina-Vandy game this week a lot of fun. Yeah. It's not a college football playoff. There's nothing to do with the CFP, in that matchup, but it's two really fun teams that play hard that are having pretty good years. And, there's still a place in college football for teams like that.
David, shed some light for our listeners on the unknown. And by that, I mean, if you look at the college football playoffs and what's predicted to come out tonight with Oregon possibly number 1, Georgia number 2, Miami number 3. My question is at 4. How good is BYU and what is their ceiling? Are they really the number 4 team in this country?
Okay, it all depends on how you evaluate it, right? If you're going based on their resume, which I think you should. I think you should be judged based on your wins and your losses. But the College Football Playoff Committee, I think they view it a little bit differently. I think they're gonna view it in terms of the best team, which gives them a whole lot more room to be subjective when determining what the quote best means. But if you were evaluating resumes, then yeah, I think BYU deserves to be ahead of Miami because BYU won at SMU. That's SMU's only loss. And BYU also crushed Kansas State. So am I going to sit here and tell you honestly that I think BYU is a national title contender? No, I really don't think they are. But that's my opinion. If we're going based on the results and the wins and the losses, then I think you got to have them up there in the top 4. And so I'll be curious to see what the committee does with BYU because that's one I think that's really going to tie them in knots because their resume is good. But do they pass the proverbial eye test? How are they going to slot in the power rankings, right? They're probably not as glitzy and as glamorous and that kind of stuff. But honestly, I don't think it should matter. I think it should matter what you've done on the field. And what BYU has done on the field is pretty much be perfect. And so, that should be rewarded, in my opinion.
I think you're absolutely right. And to follow that up, I believe the college football playoffs will start to mimic the NCAA tournament in a standpoint of it's more about matchups and paths instead of, how great of a team you are. So looking at that BYU path, right now I'm looking at a mock that has Ohio State at 5 and Boise State at 12. If Boise State makes that upset and then beats Ohio State, that's how you get into a Cinderella type of season with BYU then having a home playoff game against Boise State to advance. So my question is, if BYU is really, really that team, shouldn't they be expected to win a game or two in the college football playoffs?
Yeah, if you get a bye, like the expectation is that you're gonna win that game, but that would be a tough draw for BYU because there is some advantage to being the 5 seed in this bracket because you're playing if you win your first game, like so in that scenario, if you're Ohio State and you beat a theoretical Boise State or whoever in the first round, which you should if you're the 5 seed and you're playing the 12, you win that game, then you get to play the weakest conference of the top 4 conference champions. And so Ohio State would be favored over BYU in terms of the betting line in that game. But yeah, if you're BYU, you don't just get into the thing and say, "Yippee, we made it!" Like if you make it that far, the expectation is that absolutely you're going to win a game. I mean, the number of teams out there who are going to be happy with just we made the playoff. It's not that long. It's not a very long list of teams, and it's like making the playoff. That in and of itself used to mean something. I think we're going to learn pretty quickly that merely making it isn't going to satisfy a whole lot of fan base. So that's something to look out for here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe BYU fans would say, "Wow, we made the playoff. It was a great season. We got smacked in our first game, but who cares, right?" Like, maybe that's where they're at. But I don't think there's a whole lot of schools like that, and I think that's going to be a dynamic.
I don't think they're going to see it with that NIL they got, man.
Right, exactly.
David, you've mentioned both Miami and SMU. They're the 2 teams atop the ACC. Looking at the last 3 games for both those teams, Miami at Georgia Tech, home versus Wake Forest, and at Syracuse. On the other hand, SMU, home against Boston College, at Virginia, home against California. Which team has the better shot to win out, and I guess would probably be in the driver's seat for that spot from the ACC?
Yeah, no doubt. I really like SMU's path, and I really like the way SMU is playing too. Miami seems to play with fire every week, and they find themselves in uncomfortably close games against teams that they really shouldn't be messing with. And now they got to go to Georgia Tech. They got to go to Syracuse. Playing against Wake Forest is never easy when your defense isn't great, and Miami's defense isn't great. So I think there's actually a better chance that Miami takes a loss than SMU. And I think we got to look at this SMU resume pretty closely now. I mean, they've got wins over Louisville and Pitt. Those are both pretty high quality victories, and their only losses against BYU. Yeah. So I think Southern, SMU, Southern Methodist. I almost called them Southern Miss. Their resume is better than you think it would be when you just evaluate the fact that they're an ACC program and you assume things. Well, if you're not in the Big Ten or you're not in the SEC, well, you haven't played a hard schedule. I mean, I don't think that's true with SMU in particular because they did test themselves against BYU in a non-conference game. They did have to beat an undefeated Pitt team this past week, and they won on the road against that Louisville team, which now has a victory at Clemson. Yeah. So SMU has really stood out to me, and they're a team. They're an example of a team that if they reach the ACC championship game with one loss, I think they're safe, even if they lose in that game, or at least they should be. Because their resume is better than you might expect.
Yeah. Talking to David Cobb, he joins us every single Monday, talk college football and college basketball. I got to get some college basketball with you, David. It's opening day across the world of college basketball. Tonight, Memphis and Missouri will face off against each other at FedEx Forum. I guess before we get into this game, I want your thoughts on this Missouri team. But about an hour ago, I guess, hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, we got the news. Tyreek Smith, who either left the program, asked for a couple days away from the program about a month ago, has now officially left the team and has entered the transfer portal. The news comes out the day of the first game. Jason Munn's reporting that the team has known since at least Saturday that he would not be a part of this program. What do you make of that story and kind of this world where we're at where, if you think, and I believe I've not been able to look at every single thing Jason Munz has reported today, but I believe this also stems from NIL, where we now live in a world where you could have a guy enter the portal and basically quit on the team the day the season starts because of NIL issues.
Yeah, no kidding. I guess the checks didn't hit after all.
Yeah,
right?
I guess not. I don't know.
Seems like the other day we had just resolved this.
Right.
And
everything was fine.
But yeah, right. And then it was interesting, right? He didn't play in that Alabama game due to an injury.
Yes,
right?
I thought that was very interesting.
Well, the nature of that injury, I'd be real curious to see the X-rays there.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
Just saying it. It's not ideal, but it does kind of automatically pare your rotation down. The only thing that makes me worried about it is if you suffer an injury with Musa Cisse or with Dane Dane. Because if that happens, then all of a sudden you're getting a little thin on your front line and kind of put more pressure on Nick Jourdain to play on the block and be more physical. And we know, he's trying to show what he can do from a versatility standpoint this season. So if you stay healthy in the front court with Danger and Cisse, I don't think it's a catastrophic loss.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if those two guys are healthy and you're trying to get minutes for Tyreek Smith, I think that's only going to cause you more problems anyway, just in terms of, keeping those mouths fed and stuff. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's not ideal. But to me, the whole thing comes down to you stay healthy with those two bigs that you do have, and you're fine, and we don't even remember this. But if one of those guys goes down for any length of time due to injury this season, that's where you'll feel the absence of Tyreek Smith.
Mm-hmm. On the other side, Missouri, we know they come in on a very long losing streak. The last win was December 20th, I believe. Before conference play started, they were winless in regular season conference play, winless in their one game in the tournament, but they have gone to the transfer portal, added a lot. Tony Perkins from Iowa, Mark Mitchell from Duke. What do you expect this Missouri team to look like tonight and this season?
Almost like a mirror image of Memphis going into the season, in the sense that they are a talented but totally new team with a coach that's feeling a little bit of pressure. I mean, those are broad generalities, obviously, but it's the same situation. Dennis Gates, as you mentioned, coming off that winless season, but man, he's got a lot of talent, just like Kenny Hardaway's got a lot of talent. You mentioned Mark Mitchell, former McDonald's All-American. He averaged double figures his first two seasons of college ball at Duke, where he was playing with some really, really high-level players. And, had Duke not landed Cooper Flagg, Mark Mitchell would be back, and he would probably be a preseason All-ACC type of guy for Duke. Well, they bring in Cooper Flagg. Mark Mitchell says, I think I might go somewhere else where I can really show what I can do. And now he's going to have that chance at Missouri. And so I'm really excited, not just to watch Memphis tonight, because obviously, that's a team I talk about and cover a lot, but I'm excited to see what this Missouri team is. Like they could be good. Like they have talent. I think they at least have the ability to make the NCAA tournament this year. And I think they're having a lot of the same conversations up there on Sports Talk Radio right now about Missouri as we're having about Memphis. Like it's the reboot, it's the unknown, it's the talent, and wondering how it's all going to work together. And I would have this as more of a toss-up tonight. And I realize Memphis is a favorite, but don't sleep on this Missouri team. Don't look at that conference record from a year ago and assume this is a cakewalk. There are some really good players on that team.
I always love a could-be-good team before when the season starts. Those are my favorite. Whenever I hear a team could be good, it just makes me fall in love with them even more.
It's crazy now, right? There's so many of them because you just look at these rosters and they change so much, and you just don't know. It's hard to say. But it makes tonight fun, even though there's not that many great matchups.
Speak for yourself. We have the Sunbelt MAC tip-off challenge. I mean, please.
Well, what are we doing where the only good games tip off almost in the middle of the night?
That's right.
Like we get
10:30 for Baylor Gonzaga? Jeez.
Yeah, right. Like I had to have a Celsius just to make it to the end of the day. Oh, and the other one, Ohio State Texas tonight. But it doesn't even start until 9. So it's like, what? Come on, guys. Like I realize there's Monday Night Football and stuff that we got to compete with here, but like some of us would actually enjoy a good matchup during normal hours. And honestly, Missouri Memphis is one of the best games that's on like during a normal viewing period.
Yeah, that's a good point.
David, we're so glad you said that. We love the Tigers and the Tigers versus Tigers matchup. But quickly, I need you to temper my fans. I'm a man of the people. I've been having everyone that comes on speak to the fans. We had Greg Gaston on last week, I believe, and I asked him the same. And I would like to ask you, from a fan's perspective, with Coach Hardaway and this team, what should fans say is a successful season?
I think it's reaching the NCAA tournament. I don't care how you get there or what it looks like, if it's at large or if it's winning the conference tournament. You got to get to the big dance, and I'll let Memphis fans decide from there whether or not they demand an NCAA tournament victory or not, right? But at this point, you just got to get back to the dance, and I think if you do that, you calm a lot of the anxieties and a lot of the just sort of general feeling of angst within the fan base. And so this is a team that's talented enough to do it, and it's in a league that is not very talented. And so you put those things together, and you got to be able to find a way. And I always say this about Penny: he's really good at building rosters. He's really good at building schedules. They've got a really difficult schedule this year, and that's a good thing because it gives you the opportunity to build that at-large NCAA tournament resume. But it all starts tonight, and these next 6 to 8 weeks are massively important because you got to get it done early if you're Memphis in the non-con because of how weak the AAC is going to be. And if you find a way to get to the dance, well, all of a sudden, that's 3 NCAA tournament appearances in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't think we're firing many coaches around the country who get to the big dance 3 times in 4 years.
No, absolutely not.
So if you do that, then I think it calms a lot of the anxiety.
For sure. Last thing for you, David. Have you put out an official Final Four prediction, or are you waiting? What does that look like?
No, I got one out there. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What's it look like?
It's circulating on the old interwebs. Well, it does not include Duke. So
wow. I knew that. You tempered my expectations on Duke.
I know I did, yeah. But I do have Alabama, Iowa State. I've got, who else do I have in there? Those are the two that I feel the best about. I can't remember what my official prediction ended up being, but I'm not big on the teams that are heavily reliant on freshmen. So, okay, here it is. I got Houston winning it all, Alabama as the runner-up, UConn making the Final Four for the 3rd straight year, and then Iowa State in there as well. So, I'm bullish on Houston, bullish on the Cougars. I think Kelvin Sampson might finally get that breakthrough this season.
I would love it. I love Kelvin Sampson. I think he's a tremendous coach.
I think we all do.
Yeah, he seems like a fantastic person. I would love to see him get there. But David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy the hoops. We'll do it again next Monday.
Okay, man. Sounds good.
Thanks, David.
Hey, there's a man in Lansing, Michigan that coaches this team called the Michigan State Spartans that has made a living off of very tough non-conference games. Right. He has a NCAA title to prove it, and he's been to the big game in the big dance several times. So I believe a hard non-conference schedule does get you ready.
That's right. Izzo,
yes, sir.
Jay-Z wrote a song about him.
Yeah, it was H to the hey, I guess Coach can steal that one.
That's right. Use it as a recruiting pitch. Hey, Jay-Z wrote
have Draymond rap it for him.
Well, okay, maybe a stretch now. Well, let's go ahead. We need to get to a break. When we come back, we got to get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. Also, we'll have another pair of Tiger basketball tickets to give away courtesy of Sissy's Log Cabin.
We have Trip rapping for him. Trip is his guy.
That's right. Well, Trip has his hip hop career. So yes, that's the perfect person that can rap it. He can record it and you can send it out to all the recruits. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, it'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church, seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. 5 Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
You want breakfast. You really want some breakfast, but you don't want to make breakfast. You really don't want to make breakfast. Making breakfast is a pain. How are you going to cook the bacon? Bake it, fry it, microwave it. Then how about your eggs? Fried, poached, then you'll want some bread. Want to mess with whipping up a batch of biscuits? Of course not. That's a lot of dishes. That's what Sunrise is for. Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar will make you the best breakfast you've ever had, and you don't have to lift anything but a fork. Just go to either Sunrise location and let them do the work. Oh, and if you don't feel like making a burger for lunch, go to Sunrise.
Sports 56 traffic.
Disabled vehicle a few minutes ago on 240 East over there around Mount Moriah as that traffic tries to pick up in that area on that side of town on 240 East, passing Poplar up to Walnut Grove, going outbound Sam Cooper. That's on the increase. Still looks pretty good right now in the Midtown area as we check out I-40 in both directions over here around Chelsea. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full service, family-owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. Go by and see them this week. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Wilson's Pro Wash, your residential and commercial pressure washing service you can trust. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get a deflection is caught! Deflection is caught! And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
Well, we got to talk the SEC, our look back at the weekend of the SEC, brought to you every single week by the great people at Sissy's Log Cabin. But we also, courtesy of Sissy's Log Cabin, have some tickets to give away. Tiger basketball tickets. If you want to go and be in attendance for the season opener tonight against the Missouri Tigers, go ahead, get on the phone line, punch in the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line number 901-360-8255. If you're the first caller, you're going to Memphis and Missouri tonight. So go ahead and get those calls in. Darian will pick it up. And
not only will I pick up the phone, I'll speak to you tonight because I'll be there.
How about that? Darian will be there tonight, so you'll be able to
Call
see
me.
Darian and catch the action tonight. Hopefully see the Tigers start the season 1-0. Well, let's start with the early morning game. It started at 11 a.m. Maine on the road at Oklahoma. A late non-conference game for Oklahoma, and OU gets the win 59-14. OU recorded 665 yards of total offense, including 381 yards on the ground. Jackson Arnold, he looked good, 224 yards and 2 touchdowns. Junior Javante Barnes led the team with rushing with 203 yards, 3 touchdowns on 18 carries, while wide receiver J.J. Hester led receivers with 112 yards and 1 touchdown on 4 receptions. OU's defense, they only allowed 251 yards of total offense to Maine. Oklahoma did exactly what they were supposed to do against this Maine team. It's an Oklahoma team that we've talked about a lot this year of just how they've struggled. They have not been able to get consistent play from the quarterback position, and that has really hurt them, but they were able to play an FCS opponent in Maine, do what they were supposed to do, 59-14 win. Next weekend, Oklahoma will be on the road against Missouri, a 6:45 game on SEC Network. Also at that time, Ole Miss on the road against Arkansas, and Ole Miss gets a 63-31 win over the Hogs. This was all Ole Miss all afternoon, and it was really, I said this with David earlier, this was the game that we've been waiting to see in conference play from Ole Miss. Sure, we saw Ole Miss put on these performances early in the season against Furman and, against Middle Tennessee, against Georgia Southern, but we haven't seen this type of production, this type of offense specifically in SEC games, but they dominated from start to finish, recorded 694 yards, while Arkansas finished with 497. Taylon Green really couldn't do anything. Arkansas's quarterback couldn't do anything when he was in there. He was pressured all afternoon. He did suffer an injury and left the game with that injury. So Singleton came in, finished the game, and the two quarterbacks combined for 365 yards and 1 touchdown through the air. On the other side, Jackson Dart, 515 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, a really, really solid game for Jackson Dart, and the defense was phenomenal. Like I said, 8 sacks, 13 tackles for a loss, and forced and recovered 2 fumbles on that defensive side. 10 penalties for Arkansas. We'll see if this can really kickstart Ole Miss, because now they've got the big test this weekend at home against Georgia. And on the other side, Arkansas, they do not play this week. They've got the off week. So Ole Miss, Darren, are you buying in on maybe the late season,
lane train?
Here, okay, yeah.
That's what I'm calling it, baby.
Is the lane train, are they back?
Absolutely. If you heard him before they went on the bye, when they had the loss, when they had issues, he was pumping those guys up. He sounded like Ryan Silverfield yesterday, or day before, rather. So, yes, definitely on the lane train.
Okay, I love it. So, big weekend for them at home against Georgia. If you get that win, obviously it's a completely different conversation we're having about this Ole Miss team. But,
you got to love they got guys that's going to play on Sunday, too.
Sure.
Whenever Ole Miss is really, really, really good, they have those guys, like those guys, the Kim DJs, those guys that are going to play on Sunday.
Yeah. Vanderbilt on the road at Auburn, and Vanderbilt gets the 17-7 win over the Tigers. How in the world was Auburn a 8-point favorite?
Still don't have the answer to that question.
Still don't have the answer. I've been asking it since Friday.
You still don't have that.
I don't understand it, and I still don't understand it. Vanderbilt looked really, really good. It was 7-7 at the half, but Vanderbilt outscored and held Auburn to 0 points in the second half. Diego Pavia did what Diego Pavia does. 9 for 22, 143 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, added 26 yards on the ground with his legs. How about this? Maybe the stat of the day. Diego Pavia now 3-0 against Hugh Freeze. He is the Hugh Freeze killer. Hugh Freeze cannot buy a win against this man. 3 years ago, I guess 2 years ago, 49-14 win at New Mexico State over Liberty in 2022. Last year, a 31-10 win over Auburn at Jordan-Hare when he was with New Mexico State. And now at Vanderbilt, they get the 17-7 win over Auburn.
He's the killer. Yeah.
He's the killer.
He's the killer.
And it was actually funny because after the game, they were Vanderbilt. Both teams go middle of the field and shake
exchange
hands,
pleasantries.
Exactly. And I think he was an offensive lineman. He starts going, "This man's 3-0 against your head coach. 3-0, Hugh Freeze. Where you at?" Well, of course, some Auburn players took exception to that and kind of started chirping back and forth. Another really weird thing from this game, I guess I shouldn't say weird, but funny thing from this game. So, and I don't have his name in front of me, unfortunately, but there's a linebacker that plays for Vanderbilt. had a fantastic game against Auburn. Well, after the game, he goes to Twitter and posts a tweet that says, "Merry Christmas." And with the tweet was a screenshot of a text message between him and that he received from a coach at Auburn that basically said, "We're not taking a quarterback or a linebacker in this class. We're pulling your scholarship."
The internet is beautiful, sir. His name was Brian Longwell.
Okay. Brian Longwell. He was great in that game, and ended up posting that on Twitter for the whole world to see. This is the tweet that he got. "Brian, I'm sorry, buddy. We're not going to sign a high school linebacker in this class. More than likely. You're a great player with a bright future. Hope you and yours have a Merry Christmas." Sent on December 25th, 2022 at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Love the petty.
So he wakes
Love
up
it.
Christmas, because there's no way, shout out Brian Longwell, no way Brian Longwell is awake at 6 a.m. on Christmas morning. He wakes up Christmas morning to a text message from one of the coaches saying, "Hey man, we're pulling your offer. Good luck. Merry Christmas." And so he posted Merry Christmas.
Yeah, he had 4 tackles against those guys, too.
Fantastic.
Good game. Great. Love the petty.
Fantastic.
Love it.
I loved it. But Vanderbilt, they're bowl eligible now. We anchored down. We're very happy that Vanderbilt is now bowl eligible. Maybe, just maybe, we could see him here at Simmons Bank Liberty
Your
Stadium.
Commodores against my Gamecocks coming up.
That would be that's going to be a great game. Yes, like you just said, Vanderbilt at home this weekend, 3:15 on SEC Network against South Carolina. Florida at Georgia.
World's biggest cocktail party.
World's biggest cocktail party. Plenty of cocktail parties.
Have you ever been before?
The world's biggest. I've not.
I went once.
Really?
I was at the party. I didn't get into the game in my time in Jacksonville last year.
Okay.
Should have hit Brent Beard up, man.
That's what everyone's there for, is the party, right?
Yeah. RV Land or Central, something like that.
Yeah. This game was wild. Georgia ends up winning 34-20, but the big story was early. Florida comes out the gates. They're playing, better than Georgia. DJ Lagway threw a touchdown to give Florida a 13-6 lead at the half. But Lagway suffered an injury in that first half, had to leave the game. Redshirt freshman and Yale transfer Aiden Warner had to come in, and he struggled. Look, I'm sure he's a fine quarterback.
Jonah called him the worst quarterback in the SEC.
He did not look good. But, I want to give him a little benefit of the doubt. He's coming from Yale. It's his first year. Your first game as an SEC player, you have to enter against Georgia in a massive rivalry. You're on the bench. You're cold. You're not ready to go in and play. He didn't look good. Well, all the excuses you want to use, he did not look good, and that was a huge part of Georgia turning that thing around and getting the win, because that offense could do nothing after he entered the game. Carson Beck really didn't have a great game. 309 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions for Georgia's quarterback. Georgia recorded 455 yards of total offense, while Florida only ended the game with 228 total yards. Now this week, we already mentioned Georgia on the road against Ole Miss. Florida on the road against Texas. Florida, Texas, 11 a.m. on ABC, and then Georgia, Ole Miss, 2:30 on SEC. Just a few more games to get to. UMass on the road against Mississippi State, and Mississippi State gets a 45-20 win.
I say a much needed 45-20. I think everyone has those get well, get right games, and there's so many adjectives and unpleasantries being tossed around about Hail State. I was just kind of glad to see them get a good victory, man.
Yeah, no, it was good for them, and they trailed 10-0 after the first quarter and really, turned it around after that. Finished with 465 yards of offense. UMass finished with 335. How about this? I thought this interesting. UMass really dominated the time of possession. It was like
didn't win them all.
35 minutes to like 19 minutes. It was crazy. But Mississippi State, we know Jeff Lebby, that offense he's going to try to get going there. Very up-tempo, very fast. They had some really quick drives that resulted in touchdowns, in scoring drives. Michael Van Buren, good game, 222 yards, 1 touchdown. Jordan Mosley finished the game 107 receiving yards. That's really all I got.
That time of possession was crazy. 40-49 to 19 14-11.
Yeah, I knew it was crazy.
That's
I knew it was,
crazy.
yeah. I didn't know.
Come
I
on, Mississippi State.
But what I'm saying, going back to what I was saying, you look at those series. I mean, it's like two play, 36-second drive that resulted in a touchdown. It's a six play touchdown drive that was a minute and 30 seconds. They were late in that game when they were scoring, it was quick drives that resulted in points.
Yeah, no turnovers for State. You would think with a 40 to basically 40 to 20 time of possession, you would think high turnover.
Yeah.
No fumbles lost or interceptions.
Yeah, so it was just they were getting the ball and they were scoring fast. This week, Mississippi State on the road against Tennessee. That a 6 p.m. game on ESPN.
Cowbells are illegal. You cannot take them to Neyland Stadium.
That is right. Number 10, Texas A&M on the road against South Carolina. South Carolina pulls the big upset, 44-20, the final score of that game. A&M, I mentioned it earlier with David Cobb, held scoreless in that second half. Marcel Reed played the entire game for A&M, finished with 206 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I'm really curious to see how the rest of the season goes with those two quarterbacks, Marcel Reed and Connor Wegman, and kind of what Connor Wegman decides to do once this season is complete. Lenore Sellers, I thought he had a really, really good game, 244 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and then on the ground, him and Rocket Sanders were fantastic. Rocket Sanders led the team with 144 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Lenore Sellers added 106 yards and a touchdown on the ground. It was cool seeing fans rush the field after the big win. They had, the rally towels that they have at South Carolina. They were scrubbing it in to the logo at midfield to try to get the red and black dye on their towels. That's kind of like a cool memento from the game.
So college of them.
It was cool. They go to the post-game press conference and coaches wearing like you've seen, they're very popular now, like the big, like oversized chain necklaces with the logo on it. He's wearing one of them. He's like, yeah, some fans ran up to me and gave it to me after the game. And I was like, no, that's yours. I can't take it from you. And they're like, no, I want you to have it. And so they
it's almost like the interception chain that the U used, the turnover chain. That the U used to have. But
it looks very similar to that.
What I love most about it is Connor Wegman is number 2 on my all college name team. I love the name. Okay. Connor Wegman. Guess who's number 1?
I have no clue.
You plug it in, Cal McCord, baby. I love it.
Really?
Yes, I love the Cal McCord name, man.
I like it.
You plug it in, Cal McCord.
It's a good name. That's for sure.
Plus, he won this weekend.
He sure did, and a big win for him that we haven't even discussed that we'll have to get to a little bit later in the show. This weekend for both of those teams, A&M, they do not play this week in South Carolina. We already mentioned it. They are on the road against Vanderbilt. And then finally, the final game of the day in the SEC, Kentucky on the road against Tennessee. This was a game where Kentucky jumped out, scored the first touchdown of the game. But then after that, it was really all Tennessee. Kentucky kept it close. They scored 18 points. Final score 28-18. Tennessee only won by 10 when they were favored by 15, 16, some odd points before the game started. When you look at this game, Tennessee finishes with 477 yards. Kentucky 360 yards. 185 of Tennessee's yards were on the ground. A lot of penalties on both sides. Kentucky finishing with 10 penalties. Tennessee finishing with 9. And when you look at the play, I've really, and we talked about this earlier, I've really enjoyed watching Dylan Sampson run the ball, finished with 142 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game for Tennessee. Nico was fine, 292 yards and 1 touchdown for him. On the other side, Brock Vandegrift, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The Kentucky runs for 168 yards, but I thought a good win for Tennessee at home. But I thought Kentucky showed some nice things as well. This weekend, Tennessee at home against Mississippi State, and it looks like Kentucky is off as well this weekend. So that is our look back at the weekend in the SEC, brought to you every single week by Sissy's Log Cabin. Go out to Sissy's Log Cabin. They've got that beautiful, beautiful building right there on Poplar, and we're getting close. I mean, now November 4th, it's time to start shopping for Christmas, and they've got perfect jewelry for maybe your significant other, maybe a family member for the holiday. So make sure to head out to Sissy's Log Cabin and check out what they've got. And as always, we thank Sissy's Log Cabin, everything they do with us, the listener line, the look back at the week in the SEC, and also helping us out with tickets to give out to the listeners. So we definitely appreciate Sissy's Log Cabin. Well, let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you are a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway and the Park Place Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. This week, a primetime matchup with the only remaining undefeated team in the NFL, the 7-0 Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are 4-4. Now they take on Patrick Mahomes and the defending Super Bowl champions. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of the Pen, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing gift, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, the Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 30 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for differentiated yards, real fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $400,000 awarded in Mississippi.
Now, back to Sportstime on Sports 56.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand.
It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Darren, did you bring a big number to the table today?
I absolutely did. Good sir. Would you like it first?
Please.
All right. We're sticking with the NFL here. My big number of the day is 158.3. That's 158.3. For those that know football well, you know that is a perfect rating, good sir. And for the fourth time, Lamar Jackson, your current MVP, and I say your future MVP, he did that for the fourth time. He ties that mark with the one and only Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger. They are the only two guys in the NFL to do that 4 times in the regular season. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Kurt Warner each did it 3 times. Craig Morton and Ken O'Brien did it twice. But this is the kicker. The 158.3 means nothing if you don't do it in the playoffs. And only 4 people have done that in the playoffs. Terry Bradshaw, Dave Craig, once again the great Peyton Manning, and Don Meredith.
Wow. Some good stuff.
Some good stuff on there. The point is he can do it all he wants in the regular season. I need it in the playoffs. But kudos to Lamar Jackson for another perfect game.
Wow. So I have my big number has a lot of numbers in it, so just get ready.
I'm always ready. My
big number today is 117. Okay. Today is the start of the college basketball season. On the men's side, we have 199 games involving a Division I team. But when you break that down, only 117 of those games involve both teams being Division I teams. So that means 82 of the 199 Division I games played today at some point involve a D1 versus a non-Division I team. Kevin Sweeney, who joins us on Wednesdays, he broke it down, and I'm really appreciative of him for breaking this down. Of those 82, only 16 of them are a D1 playing against a Division II opponent. 33 of them are a Division I team playing against a Division III team, which leaves another 33 that are a Division I team playing against non-NCAA colleges or universities, so playing NAIA schools, basically. How in the world are you a Division I team starting your season against an NAIA school?
I wonder do you know what classification Lemoyne is? Because it brought me immediately to the University of Memphis not playing Lemoyne. But even though they did it in the preseason, I don't think they ever did it in the regular season.
You know, I'll be honest, I don't actually know what Lemoyne is.
Maybe NAIA.
They might be.
Yeah, let me take a peek.
But like you said, anytime Memphis has played Lemoyne-Owen, it's been
an exhibition.
In an exhibition game. You know, Memphis has. I couldn't tell you if there was a time. Certainly not in my lifetime. I don't think where Memphis has played a non-Division I team in a regular season game. I'm sure it's happened. But certainly not recently. And so, usually when you see these, like I was going through and looking at the slate today, like a lot of the schools that are playing, it's, smaller schools that are just trying to, find an opponent and, just play a game. I'm looking right now, Lemoyne-Owen, they're a D2 school, I believe. Or maybe D3. They're in the SEAC. I know that's an NCAA conference, but I just don't know.
I do. I see it as well. SIAC, SIAC, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's a D2. Maybe
okay,
D3.
But like you said, they're always in
it's
the
D3.
it's
D3.
D3. Okay, but they're always exhibitions. They are never. Penny, Coach Cal, Pastner, they never open the season with those games.
Right. Exactly. And so it's but. Whatever, I guess whatever floats your boat, but I would love to see more Division I versus Division I games, and I would love to see better games because we've talked about it with David Cobb. We were talking about it last week with Kevin Sweeney. You look at the slate tonight and hear so many people say there are not really many good games tonight. I think if you look at it, and Connor and I were having this conversation last week of where would Memphis, Missouri rank in
on the
terms
slate today?
Of the games today, and we said probably third. I would say Gonzaga, Baylor, obviously number 1. I would say Ohio State and Texas number 2. Actually, I would say probably Memphis and Missouri is probably fourth. I would put Texas A&M and UCF over Memphis, Missouri. But then right there after it would probably be Memphis and Missouri, which is that's not a slight against Memphis or Missouri. I'm not trying to make a dig at this game tonight because I think it's a great game. But it feels like used to you would have bigger games. You would have, this top 25 team versus this top 25 team. This,
some form of tip-off or classic or something.
Starting on opening day. Or how about this? We go back to the 24 hours of ESPN where we had 24 hours of basketball and you didn't really have to worry about it because you're watching a basketball game at 7 a.m. in the morning while you're getting ready for work. I would love that.
Isn't it the same in the college football realm, though?
And that's
week one we had
exactly.
LSU and USC,
sure.
and maybe one other big game, and the rest of them were the equivalent of D1 versus D3.
So I wish we could see that improved in both sports, because I would like more high-level games. Now, you're never going to get coaches to agree to that, and that's fine. It is what it is. But it is alarming, I think, that you have so many Division I teams playing D3 and NAIA schools. No offense to those schools. We have a buddy that coaches at a D3 school. Love watching Oshkosh basketball, but they shouldn't be going up against Wisconsin to start the season.
It's the ramp up phase. It's like I guess where you're trying to lose weight, you're on the treadmill. This is just the ramp up. This is the one before you get it all the way up to 9, 10, or something like that.
So I think the question is to keep an eye on how many of those D1s lose today.
Look at you.
D3 or D2 to NAIA schools. It would be something to monitor for sure because I think at least one of them will lose.
Monday Night Massacres? all the way around?
It could be. Well, we need to get to a break. We're super late for one. No DeMichael today. He's very busy with the Grizzlies as they play the Nets tonight. So on the other side, we're going to talk a lot of Grizzlies. We'll probably spend the first 15 minutes or so talking Grizzlies. But then after that, we're going to get back to Tiger basketball because we're going to go wins and losses for this season. We'll do that next on Sportstime.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
You okay?
Sorry, I can't sleep with this cough.
Sounds like you need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with NyQuil VapoCool. It's NyQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
So you ready to get some sleep? Thank you, NyQuil VapoCool.
NyQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing nighttime coughing, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. They're still trying to sort out a couple of earlier accidents. Trying to pick up at times on 240 East up by Poplar. 240 East itself also increasing with a little bit more volume from Mill Branch all the way out to 385. Once you get on to Billmore Parkway, that's actually been in pretty good shape so far out towards the Collierville area. Still clear at the moment. 40 East from Hollywood all the way over to White Station. Hey, at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County, you can adopt a pet and change a life. For more information on the pets that are up for adoption, check out their website at memphisHumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again, our Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you loved me, and that's a fact. And then you left me, said you felt trapped. Well, some things you can't
Welcome
explain.
again, Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, but not Brett today. He's out until Thursday. Darian filling in for him, and we got to talk some Grizzlies. Usually DeMichael Cole joins us at this time, but he's very busy in Brooklyn with the Grizzlies, covering them for tonight's game against the Nets. So let's talk some Grizzlies as they'll go tonight against this Nets team that beat them, a week, a little less than a week ago at home in FedEx Forum.
Yeah, Wednesday. That was Wednesday because last Monday they lost to the Bulls.
Right. So it was the Zaire return game. It was the revenge game for him. I don't know if we see the same type of performance from Zaire, but before we get to that game, I do want to go back to Saturday night's game when the Grizzlies got a 124-107 win over the 76ers. A game that I thought the Grizzlies looked really good. They came out a little slow, but after that, 35, 33, 32 were the point totals between the second quarter and the fourth quarter. And you just look at that game and really who shined. They're getting it from so many different guys. And I think that's what you want, especially with some of the injuries they have right now. You want to see, some of these bench players light it up, guys that you can feel confident bringing them off the bench. And so, I'll start right there. You'll get Scottie Pippen Jr. and what he's doing for this team right now off the bench in that game against the 76ers. 12 points, 13 assists for the young guard and 4 rebounds. And I think has looked really good as kind of the point guard off the bench. And DeMichael was talking about it last week when we talked to him about, it's not even just, hey, John needs a breather, Scotty, go out there.
Let's go run with them.
It's, get out there and y'all two play off of each other. And it's worked really, really well. And, you've seen the Grizzlies have success with reserve point guards. It was Tyus Jones, and now it feels like Scottie Pippen Jr. is really, really working out. Jay Huff was also really good in that game. 20 points, 5 rebounds for him. He added a blocked shot, 5 for 7 from distance. 3-pointers, 5 for 7. So really impressive what he's been doing off the bench, how he can stretch the floor. I was reading a story from DeMichael Cole that was in the paper this morning where he kind of said, his ability where you can play him and you can still have Jaren in, you can still have Ja in, and both those guys are at their best when they're getting downhill, when they're attacking the basket, and you don't have that other big man clogging up the paint. You can flare him out to the corner, you can set him up at the top of the key, and he can still be just as effective as he would be on the block. So both those guys have been really good, and I think the biggest positive from some of these injuries, Desmond Bane out, Marcus Smart out, has been the play of Jalen Wells.
Absolutely. I've seen reports that say he's the best rookie in the league as of right now, up until this moment, because even from the Edys, the Klingons of the world, all rookies at this moment, Castle, Ricochet, I think all those guys are kind of having slow starts right now. And the performance and the way he's looking, he's looking the part. Mm-hmm. He's looking the part of what we'd like to call a professional scorer.
Yeah. And he's doing it on the defensive end too. And I I hate that is a part of the game of basketball that doesn't show up in the spreadsheet or in the stat sheet unless
it does when you hold Dame Lillard to 4 points, baby.
Sure, but even then, you got to watch the game to know who was guarding Dame Lillard. If you're just checking box scores, unless you have 4 or 5 steals or 4 or 5 blocks.
Okay, I get you.
Nobody's going to say, oh, man, Jay Huff had a great – or not Jay Huff. Jalen Wells had a great defensive game. But you look at – if you were watching the game and saw who he was matched up against, the last 2 games, like you said –
Maxey.
It was the first game, it was Dame Lillard. The second game, it was Maxey. 2 stars, just go out and give me a bucket type of players that he has done a fantastic job guarding. And this is, again, this is a guy that – drafted in the second round. I think, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, I think a lot of people saw that draft pick and went, who? Jalen Wells? I'm not familiar with him. And thought, this is going to be a guy that's going to be in the G League. And I think everyone was saying that. And he is really kind of forcing the hand. Now, I'm sure he will spend some time in the G League at some point, but he is making it very difficult to not play him.
To go back down. Thank you. When Gigi and Vince arrives.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And the fact that, you look at that, Jalen Wells, you look at everybody else around him, that could have easily been Scottie Pippen there. Could have easily been Jake LaRavia. Hey, man, we just need somebody out there. Jake LaRavia, go out there and start. But the fact that it was Wells that they turned to, I think speaks volumes of what he has done since being drafted and joining this team.
You're an athlete, but that goes back to, you know what I mean. That goes back to the locker room. You're not getting on that floor if you hadn't impressed coach.
No.
You're not getting on the floor if you have not impressed the teammates behind the scenes at practice. Yeah. This wasn't, you have cool hair. This is not Trevor Lawrence going out there to play. Right. We like your hair. Get out there.
Sure.
No. This guy's a baller. Like he's taking it seriously, and you can tell.
Absolutely. And so I just pulled up because you brought it up as some people are saying he might be the best rookie playing right now.
At this moment, he will not win. I mean, this could be the beginning of a magical season. Wouldn't we be lucky enough to be on top of that? Like, we could come back to the archives and say, hey, we were talking about this. But I don't think he will.
You kind of said the word, and then you didn't want to say Rookie of the Year. I have Rookie of the Year odds. Updated Rookie of the Year odds straight from DraftKings.
Guarantee you he's not in the top 10 yet.
Number 9.
Wells?
Jalen Wells.
Wow.
9th best odds right now. Now, it's still plus 3,000.
Second round pick, though, right?
That's right.
Like, my goodness.
So, in front of him, Yves Missi, who I'll be completely honest, I haven't watched him play this year. I haven't seen much of him. Ryan Dunn comes in at 7th. Ryan Dunn's played really well for the Suns this year. He's looked really good. 6, Stephon Castle down in San Antonio. 5, Carlton Carrington, Bub Carrington. Number 4, Dalton Connect.
He's been playing well.
He's been playing well. Number 3, Alex Sarr up in Washington. Number 2, Risha Shea. And still holding down the number 1 spot.
Is it my guy?
Zachary Edey.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. Okay. But watch this. Hindsight being 2020. Who is the best or most, recognizable player behind him? On your list, behind Wells,
I see. Like outside of the top 10.
Yeah, like he's a second round pick. There has to be several first round picks behind him.
I mean, Ron Holland, who is a top 15 pick, Donovan Clingan, was high. He's way down here.
I'm more impressed with that from Jalen because the higher he goes, that's a testament to him. But those guys behind him, what are you doing behind him? That's a second round pick.
I mean, there's a lot. Now, some of these guys haven't played. Some of them have been injured and or just haven't. We're still waiting. Rob Dillingham,
Your guy still ain't hit the floor?
I don't know. I'll be honest, I haven't really been paying attention, but the first couple of games when I was paying attention, he hadn't. But no, I mean, I think, again, I don't think I can bet pretty good money. The rest of my money that I didn't put on my Tiger Bankroll money that I didn't put on Memphis tonight against Missouri, I'll put on Jalen Wells not winning Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
But I think this does show the way he's been playing for a second round pick to go out there and make this type of impact, early in the season. You don't see that very often.
No, and I think the victory in that, because those are the people that are looking at, game to game, day by day, how you're progressing and playing. The win in that situation is if he finishes the season in top 5.
Yeah.
because going from a 9 to the top 5 slot, that means he was consistent, or he possibly pressed the gas and put more pressure on the NBA and actually looks like a real player.
What if? How about this? I know this is crazy talk, but what if?
We like crazy talk.
What if Brett always said, and I'm not putting words in Brett's mouth or anything, but Brett always said around draft, after the draft, before the draft, all he wanted was somebody that would, at the end of the season, be in contention, be a finalist for Rookie of the Year. What if it ends up being Jalen Wells and not Zach Edey?
I would say
you
to
more
them,
happy that way?
Yeah, because that means obviously Jalen exceeded.
Me how Edey missed
Thank
it,
you, because
know?
I'm afraid that would mean injury somewhere.
Maybe.
A lot of time on the bench for Edey some way somehow. But I'm definitely proud of Wells, man.
He played well.
I got some trivia for you for Wells.
Okay.
Do you know what college he came from?
Yeah, he came from Washington State, but before that,
you're the wrong person. I should never mind.
D2 school, I think.
Okay,
right?
good. So you don't know it.
I don't know the name of the school.
I just
it's
knew.
Sonoma State
There
or
you
something
go.
like that.
That's
Is
why
that
I didn't
what
ask you. It was Sonoma
How about
State.
that?
There you go. I forgot who I was talking to. I forgot who I was.
I watch a lot of college basketball.
You are the king of small school stuff. I totally forgot. I hit John with that he couldn't get, but I forgot.
I love mid-major basketball. What can I say? Well, I guess Washington State's now mid-major, but it wasn't when he was playing there. It's still the Pac-12.
Yeah, good old Sonoma State, man. Look how far he's come.
Shout out Sonoma State, honestly. But again, this has all been crazy talk. He's played well. He's played really well. But I think the Rookie of the Year talk is a little far-fetched. But tonight in the NBA, every single team is playing. No team's playing tomorrow.
That's the reason why. You know why, right?
I don't actually.
Yeah.
Something big going on.
Yeah, something big going on tomorrow at the polls. So nobody's playing tomorrow.
Huh. Trade deadline.
But like I said, NFL trade deadline.
That's right.
The NFL is such a king. How about everyone else laying the sword down and not doing the business at hand? NFL, the Shield.
Actually, we'll make our biggest day of the year on that day. Whatever y'all got.
They
going
made
on.
no concessions to move it. You could have did this Monday or Wednesday. No concessions at all. None.
It's too bad that the deadline time is so early in the day.
5 p.m., right?
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
5 or 6
Because I
p.m.
would love for you're somewhere and you're getting notifications. You're like, oh my gosh, and you're with a buddy.
We got a president and a trade at the same time.
You're like, oh my gosh, did a state just get announced? You're like, no, so and so just got traded to the Chiefs. Like it'd be fantastic. But
walking around a bunch of guys dressed like Uncle Sam, and you're talking about the Shield.
Yeah, how about that? Wow, see that move the Pats just made?
He's talking about 7 years ago, man.
Bingo. But like I said, every team going tonight. Grizzlies on the road in Brooklyn against the Nets. 7 o'clock tonight. We mentioned it a little bit to start the segment, but can the Grizzlies get revenge tonight after what happened last week when they played the Nets?
They'd better. They better because this is the easy part of the season. I was listening to you guys. It was either Thursday or Friday, and either you or Britt made up a point about this kind of being a soft spot in the season. It'll definitely get harder for you. You can't keep dropping these games to the Eastern. I was going to call them the Leastern Conference because the West is so much tougher than the East right now. You just can't be dropping these games. The Brooklyns, this is the second and last game. So you mean to tell me you're about to get your season swept, your series swept by the Brooklyn Nets? Right. No bueno. So you go out there, you handle your business. But it almost seems like in the early returns that the Grizzlies are playing up to who they play against. Look at how they played against the 76ers.
Sure.
Even without Embiid, they played against the jersey, they played against the city, the passion of that team.
And Embiid punched a reporter after the game.
And Embiid punched a reporter. It wasn't our reporter, of course. I think we'd have heard if it had been a Memphis, someone involved in the Memphis, I think we would have heard a lot more, man.
I kind of wish DeMichael was able to join us because he used to work at the paper in Philadelphia. So
Inquirer or Philadelphia Inquirer.
Yeah, so I'm sure he knows if the guy's been there for a while. He probably knows.
So there was some backstory. I don't know him, but the backstory was that the reporter, who's obviously been a beat writer with the Inquirer and another paper in Philadelphia for about 15 to 20 years. Okay, so he's a little long in the tooth. So he has some equity.
Knows exactly who he is.
So he has some equity with the team. It was something about a family member with
I think
a
he
column
talked about
of
like a brother of his or something like that.
Yeah, and Embiid's son is named after his dead brother. So
I see.
it got a little personal,
Interesting.
but
Okay.
it's the same thing that they tell media members not to do with the professionals.
Sure.
Don't let it get personal.
Right.
And Embiid just, for lack of better words, took the bait.
Right. Now, the first reports from a 76ers beat writer was that he punched him. And then later, Shams tweeted out that he shoved him. So somewhere between a punch and a shove is what happened.
I believe a shove from a 7'2",
It probably feels
300
like a
man is a punch,
yeah,
sir.
I don't want to be shoved or punched by Joel Embiid. So right now, the Grizzlies on the road, a 4.5-point favorite.
You give it the way Ja's playing. You give it right now. I'm a firm believer. Like you just can't play against the Jersey man. Like early returns tell me that they were playing against the lowly Bulls. That
So
they
you
were playing
think
against.
they go out there and dominate?
You got to. You have to take the momentum from Philadelphia and say, hey, this is how we play. We got a lot of good pieces that we did not expect. We did not expect the Huffs of the world.
Sure.
And how about Aldama? Look how Santi's playing like the best European player in the world or wherever he plays
really
at.
well.
Like, oh my goodness, you didn't expect it. So cash in on it. You get the GGs and the Vinces back, and all of a sudden you may have a championship team.
Yeah.
But you got to do your work early, man. You can't wait.
Yeah, so that's a little Grizzlies talk. Hopefully they get a win tonight. We can talk about a win tomorrow. But we do need to talk some Tigers, and we're going to get to wins and losses here in a second. I will put this out there. Hitman Hoops, who has reported a lot of things when it comes to Tiger basketball.
The unknown Hitman Hoops, by the way.
The unknown Hitman Hoops. He was one of the first people to put out the Tyreek Smith stuff when it originally happened. He was one of the first people to put out the stuff about the staff changes back in the summer. He has tweeted out that I guess this goes back to his initial reporting earlier today that Memphis forward Tyreek Smith has informed head coach Penny Hardaway of his decision to step away from the team per multiple sources. Smith was competing for the starting power forward role this season, but he plans to look for an opportunity elsewhere. Now that I'm looking at it, that was the initial report a month ago. This was back in October or a couple weeks ago, whenever that happened. So now he has quote tweeted that today, after all the news with Tyreek Smith that came out, and says Memphis center Dane Dange's status on this team has been, quote, up in the air, end of quote, but he is expected to play tonight versus Missouri per multiple sources. Reports surfaced last week that Dange was looking to potentially transfer mid-season. So maybe something to keep an eye on. And then he quote tweeted that and said, note, once a player plays in the game tonight, they are not eligible to transfer immediately at the end of the fall semester. So some pretty important decisions have to be made between now and tip-off. Hopefully there's not a lot to that, but it is something, because Hitman has been, really good when reporting on news for Tiger basketball. So something to keep an eye on. Going into tonight's game. But let's go ahead and get to our wins and losses for the Tiger basketball season. I'll start with Brett's because I have that right in front of me here on my phone. Brett has the Tigers 22-9 overall on the season, and this is his breakdown on how he has it. He has them 8-5 in non-conference with he has them going 1-2 in Maui. A loss at Clemson, and then 2 losses both at home to Mississippi State and Ole Miss. In conference play, he has them 11-4 and has his losses at Charlotte, home against USF, home against Wichita State, and home against UAB to make them 22-9. And now that I'm looking, I think he has all of those as road losses at Charlotte, at South Florida, at Wichita State, and at UAB, I believe. We'll clarify with that with him later. So he has them 22-9, 8-5 non, 14-4 in conference play. Darian, what do you have the Tigers?
Pretty similar. Not the elaborate breakdown as I try to do my best stats rendition, but I have them 26-5. I have them going 1-2 in Maui.
Yeah.
At Virginia, I have that as a loss, so that will be loss number 3. At USF, that will be loss number 4. And at UAB, I think they will get Clemson for whatever reason. I just have at Clemson. I think they owe Clemson, by the way. But 26-5, I have the Tigers.
Okay, I like it. I'm a little more down. I just don't know what to expect with this team. They're so new. They have so many new pieces. This non-conference schedule is very tough. And I did all of this before the Tyreek Smith stuff came out, just to be perfectly clear. And I don't know how that will affect now some rumors with Dane Danger. I don't know how any of this will affect the roster composition, the team chemistry, any of that. I have the Tigers 20-11 this season in the regular season.
20-11, okay.
20-11. My breakdown 7-6 in non-con play. This is a tough non-conference schedule. I have losses. The next 2 games after Missouri, I have losses at UNLV, home versus Ohio. Now they can win both of those games. I 100% think they can win both those games. I also think they could lose both those games. I think UNLV is going to be a good team. They play in a tough Mountain West Conference. Ohio's returning a lot of their production. It could just be one of those games at home. I also have them going 1-2 in Maui. I have them losing to Mississippi State and Ole Miss. I have them beating both Clemson and Virginia, but I think my schedule could work out in a way where they beat both UNLV and Ohio and then maybe lose to San Fran or, Clemson or Virginia, somewhere around the way. I think 7-6, however it comes, is kind of a good idea of where this team will be after non-con play. In conference play, I have them 13-5. I don't want to say I'm higher on this conference. I do enjoy watching this conference. I don't think it's the strongest conference in the world by any means. I don't think it's the weakest conference in the world by any means.
We've been called a mid-major conference before.
I mean, it's 100% a mid-major conference. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a mid-major conference. But I think it's one of the better mid-major conferences. But I do think conference play is tough no matter what conference you're in. You're going to drop a couple games in conference play. So I have my losses in conference. I have them losing the first conference game at FAU. I think this FAU team's going to be pretty good. I don't think they're going to be what they were Final Four team under Dusty May, but I think they're going to be competitive.
Dusty May's long gone.
And I think on the road, I do think they're going to have some energy with their coach, Jacobs, who came from Baylor. He was the associate head coach at Baylor, John Jacobs. I think he's a really good coach. People credit him for the success at both. He was at Gonzaga before. A lot of people credit him for the success at Gonzaga and at Baylor. And so I think he'll be a pretty good head coach. I think he's brought in some pretty talented players. So I have a loss there. I've got a loss at home against UAB. I've got a loss on the road at USF. I've got a loss on the road against Wichita State, and I have a loss on the road against UAB. So that comes out to 7-6 non-conference, 13-5 in conference play, 20-11 overall. And,
got a couple of little nuggets that can help you feel better about
Please.
how they will play. So, Texas transfer Tyrese Hunter has started all 106 games of his collegiate career.
Yeah.
So there's some experience there. 779. This probably should have been my big number. 779 is the combined number of games Division I experience the Tigers have amongst the 14 players. 5 of those players have played 75-plus games in their career, with 4 of them having at least 100 games under their belt. So, a lot of experience.
And
a lot of experience.
That's the thing. Like, I don't want anybody to think I'm down on the Tigers or
you just don't know what you don't know
of the Tigers. I think this is a team with a lot of new pieces. I don't know how they're going to play. Sure, I've seen them in 2 exhibition games against 2 really good teams. But this is a tough non-conference schedule, and conference play is brutal no matter who you are. So I hope they're better than that. I think there's a really good chance they are much better than that. But, we won't know until we know. And so we'll wait and see, but hopefully they get things off to a good start.
Got one last one before we get out.
Please.
Opening night history. The Tigers are set, obviously, to open tonight, November the 4th. This will mark the earliest the Memphis men's basketball team has ever opened a season in program history.
Wow, is that right?
So this is the earliest we've ever gotten it going.
How about
and
that?
I think we were bringing it up with the preseason or whatnot. We were like, hey, this is early, early. But this is the earliest that we've ever started the season.
I feel like
before.
it's usually like a November 7th date. Like I feel like that 7th,
So hopefully
8th
that's a good omen for Penny for things to go different.
Maybe.
Start off history.
We'll see.
Historically, rather.
Only a couple hours and about an hour and a half until tip-off at FedEx Forum. Well, before we get out of this segment and get to a break, let me remind you of our great 5 o'clock sponsor. That's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City and check out the new 2025 models like the Range Rover Sport, the Range Rover Velar, or the Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. And it's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the 2025 Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. And don't forget about the 2025 Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call at 877-259-6169. That's 877-259-6169, or go online to JaguarBluffCity.com. Let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Monday Night Football pick and preview, and also our top 4 quarterbacks combined for Kansas City and Tampa Bay. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes. Or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger-buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
Mayweather Boxing and Fitness offers a high-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rowers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, 901-673-1267.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. We close out Week 9 with Patrick Mahomes and the still undefeated Chiefs hosting Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are hoping to end a 2-game losing trend, but that's never easy against the Chiefs, especially at Arrowhead. Kevin Harlan and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner have the call on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmitt Smith on behalf of the Pen, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing gift, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, the Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great deal.
From September 1st to November 30th, the Pen is donating 30 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for differentiated yards, real fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $400,000 void in Mississippi.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon, MPD on the scene of a couple of accidents. It's not too bad actually out here. There's a little bit of volume on 240 East getting onto 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Also, still some volume continuing over here on 240 East up by Poplar. 40 East is trying to crank up from Sycamore View Road with that traffic volume all the way out into Fayette County. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. They want you to know they are your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Well, it's Monday night, so that means we've got Monday Night Football, and it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road against the red-hot Chiefs. The Chiefs, I mean, Brett's brought this up a couple times, but it feels like nobody talks about the Chiefs until we're to the playoffs, and it's because of how good they are. They have shown that they are dominant, and you don't even need to talk about them. They're shoo-in for the playoffs, and they're going to be there, at the very end. So tonight, this game right now, we're going to play it at 9.5. I don't know what it is exactly right now, but you got one team in Kansas City that's played really well all season long. Now, last week, I thought they should have pulled away from the Raiders and won that game by more. Just couldn't get it done at the end. I think allowed a late touchdown from Las Vegas to keep that game close. Tampa Bay, though, we got issues. We don't have receivers right now. So a lot of injuries.
I want to ask you about that, too.
Okay, please, ask away.
So,
I don't know if I have an answer.
Damian Woody defended the coaching staff that left Goodwin, Chris Goodwin, in the game. Do you blame that coaching staff? Because I do not. I mean, it goes back to Herm. We play to win the game. Some say the game was out of hand and the starters should have been out. So my question to you, do you think Godwin should have been out? Or it's just, the price you pay for playing the game, that violent?
I mean, I hate doing this where it feels like every time something like this happens, it's like, well, he shouldn't have even been there.
I was fine with them being there.
You can get injured at any point, and so, yeah, maybe he didn't get injured then, but who says he didn't get injured next
the next
game
play
or
the next play?
Exactly. And so, I do hate that it happened. But I think that's just you're a professional football player. Your job is to play in these games, and if it wasn't a blowout, he'd be playing. So, I don't like thinking that way. I'm fine with him.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I was 100% okay with him in the game, because even if you think about Mike Evans early in the game, yes, it was early in the game, but he still got hurt.
Right.
No one is saying he should not have been in that play. So just wanted your 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting conversation, but I don't have any issue with him being in there. So we got to make some picks for tonight's game. Like I said, it's at 9. We always play the hook. So Chiefs, 9.5 point favorite right now. Darian, who do you like tonight?
I'm giving that 9.5. Chris Jones, no wide receivers. I think Baker has a pretty porous record on Monday nights or prime time.
Okay.
He's going to the Kingdom. So many negatives, and I haven't given you one positive. So,
That's right.
So Chiefs give that 9.5. They'll cover that easily.
Okay. All right. So I'm also going to take the Chiefs with you. I'll take them minus that 9.5. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to.
You still got 46 as your over-under number?
I do.
Okay, so I told John, to the listeners, if you're going to play the under, you give the 9.5. That means that somebody's not doing their job. If you're going to play the over, you may as well take the 9.5 with the Bucks, because that means some way, somehow, Baker's being Baker.
Yeah, we get into a score-off, and both teams are scoring the ball. Okay, I like where your head's at. The two fellas that aren't here today, Brett, he's going to take, where's his pick? He's going to take Tampa Bay. He'll take Tampa Bay.
He's taking a
plus
9.5.
that 9.5. And then Connor, he's also going to take Tampa Bay plus 9.5. So, Darren, it's me and you versus Connor and Brett. We'll see.
See how that plays out.
See how that plays out for all of us. I hope it's a good game. The Chiefs have just been so good this year. And on the other side, the Buccaneers looked really good early in the season.
Offensively, especially offensively.
Sure. And now I'm kind of worried that these injuries are starting to bite them, and now they're back at 500, and likely, especially when you're in the NFL with a 9.5-point spread, at least Vegas thinks they're going to lose tonight, so you fall under 500. But Baker Mayfield has been really good this year.
I'm glad you brought him up.
Team.
This is a game that some legends can be made of.
Sure.
Baker, no wide receiver core. Sterling Shepard of the New York Football Giants is one of his top two receivers tonight. You say all that to say if he goes into Arrowhead, Arrowhead. I'm so used to calling it the Kingdom. Goes in Arrowhead and wins, and even if it's by a slight margin, a 9.5 point dig says that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. Baker's leading the league in passing as well as touchdowns. If he can make sugar out of nothing, the same way Tom Brady used to, these are the games that legends are made of, and he's on the right trajectory. So I wouldn't put it past him to go in there and just gunsling it out and pull it out, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I hope he does, because that would make for a great game. Now, a reminder: we usually carry Monday Night Football right here on Sports 56. Tonight, we will not have Monday Night Football because Ole Miss basketball gets started tonight, 7 p.m. That pregame will start. Ole Miss versus Long Island. We'll have, I believe, Rebel Yell before that from 6 to 7, and then go right into pregame. So if you're an Ole Miss fan, you've got a lot of Ole Miss content coming up right when we're done here at 6 o'clock.
A little hotty-toddy action.
That's right. But now, Darren, we got to get to our top 4 quarterbacks.
I'm ready for
combined for these two franchises. I'll start with Brett's. His is number 1, Tom Brady. Number 2, Pat Mahomes. Number 3, Joe Montana. And number 4, Lynn Dawson.
Lynn Dawson.
My list is the exact same as his.
Well, mine is not, and by a slight margin.
Because I was worried you were going to call me lazy.
No, good sir.
Brett sent you his top 4, and so you just copied and pasted it.
Pretty solid list as always.
It's a great list. I may or may not have copied and pasted.
My thing, you're so crazy. My thing is, Joe Montana stands alone. I mean, there's not a person.
He's got a special place in your heart.
Very. So even being in Kansas City.
Sure.
So I go Montana first. I don't like putting Thomas, Patrick, Edward, Brady in these type of situations, but he was a Buck, so I am going to do so. So Thomas, Patrick, Edward, Brady.
Tom Brady is number 2.
He actually should be 3 though. Yeah, he's 2. He's 2. He should be 3 because Mahomes should be 2 on there.
What?
Mahomes should be 2. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go Montana, then I'm going to go Mahomes, then I'm going to go Brady. Because in that jersey, that's where I'm going. I'm not going all time. If we're going all time, I flip-flop Mahomes and Brady.
Okay.
And my 4th quarterback will be the historic Doug Williams.
All right, that's a good list.
So that was my 4th. So we differ on the Lynn Dawson deal, but I had to go with Dougie Williams. And, I mean, you could have went with Brad Johnson, who is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah.
Trent Dilfer, who is a Super Bowl winning quarterback with another organization, but with the rules of this game, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah.
So could have went with him. Or what do you call them? The AIEs? What is it? The almost when they just made your list or did not make the list?
Oh, the outside looking in. OLI.
You're outside looking.
They're right outside.
What did you say?
OLI.
OLI. One of these
Outside
days.
looking in.
One of these days I'll
You'll
get
figure it
it.
out.
Sean King. Sean King was very good, and Jeff Garcia as well.
I like that. There's some good names for this list. I mean, it was a tough list to put together, but that will do it for our Monday Night Football pick and
How about
preview.
Josh Freeman? You remember him?
Yeah.
He big bust, but I mean, he should have been on the all-time what-if list,
Well,
man.
he certainly could have been. Just a quick update for Tiger basketball. I mentioned in our last segment that a report came out from Hitman Hoops that Dane Dange's future as a Tiger was up in the air. Jason Munz, he is already out there at Simmons Bank or at FedEx Forum. This is basketball, not football. He's already at FedEx Forum, and he has taken a picture of Dane Dange out for pregame stretches in, full uniform. He's got the game shorts on and basketball shoes on. So it looks like Dane Dange's going to play tonight, so that is definitely good news for Tiger fans. And that game, I mean, only about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, we ain't playing against a D3 school.
That's
We
right.
we need D1 bodies.
Yeah,
so
we're not one of those 80-some-odd teams
those 80-some-odd
playing a D2 school, one of the 30 teams playing an NAIA school on opening night. No.
Tallest player is 6'3",
Right, yeah.
6'3" center out there, man.
I think what was it last year? I forgot who Purdue was playing. First game of the season.
Yeah.
It was it was a D1 school, but it was a small school, and they put out their small forward at center. Maybe it was their point guard, a little dude, like a 6'2" guard for the opening tip. And after the game, they were asked about it. They're like, Zach Edey, 7'4". We're not going to win this tip. We're just going to throw somebody out there and have fun.
So they went Savannah Bananas in the beginning of the game, basically.
So
yes.
Zach Edey with his hand up, and then at his waist is the guy going up against him. So it's good stuff. Before we get to a break, let me remind you about our friends over at Wilson's Pro Wash. Do me a favor, picture this. Picture your home clean, beautiful, clean, pristine. Is that impossible to you? Well, not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Their Gentle Touch Pro Wash will restore your house, fence, driveway, commercial building, and more to their very best. Wilson specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces from concrete to stone, brick to mortar, even wood to vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal your surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Wilson's Pro Wash, clean is their mission. They'll wash away everything but your sins, so give them a call, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com. And as always, Wilson's Pro Wash, they sponsor our second hour, the 4 o'clock hour. And again, big thanks to Bluff City Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City for sponsoring our 5 o'clock hour, our third and final hour every single afternoon. Well, let's get to our final break of the day, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Summer may be over, but yard work, it goes on. Don't worry, Colonial Hardware makes it easy for you. Colonial Hardware has all the lawn and garden tools you need from the best brands in the business. Ferris, Snapper, Husqvarna, Toro, Echo, Shindaiwa, and Billigo. Servicing most brands of lawn equipment, Colonial's master service techs will keep you going year-round. Colonial Hardware, family-owned and operated, and serving you for nearly 50 years. Next to Bass Pro and Lincoln at Sycamore View, and online at colonialhardwareinc.com.
You know the great thing about having an event catered by Central Barbecue?
What was that?
They turn any event into a cookout.
You stole that directly from their website.
Well, I didn't expect you to have looked at their website.
I've got events coming up. It's the holiday season, and there's no better way to make things easier than to have Central Barbecue cater it.
They have everything. Box lunches, meat platters, nacho bar kits.
And half and full sheet pans of their traditional barbecue sides. I'm looking at the website right now. You're quoting it verbatim.
Not exactly verbatim.
Word for word. This is a new level of lazy even by your standards.
That doesn't make it any less true. You can't beat Central Barbecue Catering.
It's just plagiarism.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate, Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Generators. Right now, we're offering our Choate's Comfort and Safety Special. For a limited time, when you purchase a $99 tune-up, or if Choate's performs a repair, you'll receive a free 1-year standard membership at $400 value. Keep your home safe, comfortable, and running smoothly all year long with 2 maintenance visits, priority service, and discounts on future repairs. And for our existing loyal fan plan members, we have something special just for you. Enjoy a $1,000 loyalty coupon toward any new generator, tankless water heater, or HVAC system. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us with your home. Add value, add comfort, and add safety to your home with Choates. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com. Choates, let our family serve your family.
Pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Darian, what I learned today is we get our first look at the college football playoff bracket tomorrow. Tuesday night, they'll put it out. ESPN will do their show, and we'll get kind of our first look at what the bracket looks like with a couple weeks left in the season. I don't know much about what it will look like. I do know some things. I know Oregon will be number one. They were the first unanimous number one team in the country, according to the AP polls in the last 3 years. I feel pretty good they'll be number one overall seed tomorrow when we get that bracket. The other thing I know for a fact, Memphis will not be in the conversation tomorrow as one of the teams that could make that group of 5 spot in the playoffs. But it will be fun to kind of see this because we've done so much talking about it. I remember, it feels like the last couple of years when we've had the 4-team college football playoff that once you got those CFP rankings, at around this time of year, that's really when everything turned up because everyone had that idea of, okay, this is what the committee feels, this is what they see, this is where they have it right now. Now let's get to work. And it's going to be even more tomorrow when we see the actual 12-team bracket. And hey, here are the teams. Here are the 12 teams in the bracket. Here's how it lines up. So I'm curious to see how many SEC teams are in the first bracket. I'm curious to see how many Big Ten teams are in the bracket. And how much of a share does the ACC and Big 12 get?
A lot.
It felt like before the season, it was we're going to see a lot of SEC, we're going to see a lot of Big Ten, and now it might be different. It might be a lot of several teams from both conferences. So it's going to be fun to see tomorrow night. I know a lot of people are going to be watching that, and then here come the takes. Who's too high? Who's too low? What would those matchups look like? I think tomorrow night's going to be a lot of fun.
And that's at 7 o'clock tonight, right?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, too. That's tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night.
Wow, they're doing that then?
It's a big night tomorrow
night.
Big
night tomorrow night. Okay.
All day, a lot of stuff going on.
Oh,
here.
man. Oh, goodness. Okay, so what I learned today, this is the 104th season of the Memphis Tigers basketball. And this is not our most highly from an expectation standpoint, this is not the most expectations that has been put on us, but I think this is by far the most anticipated season because we don't know what to do with our coach. If he bums out, do you leave him as a lame duck coach? If he rocks out, do you sign him to a huge extension even though he hadn't done anything historically? But this is anticipated, and it all starts tonight. Yeah. We've talked to 2 professionals, and both have said the expectations are not really there. You just got to get to the tournament. And for a team as historically laden as we are, that's a very low bar. Get to the tournament, Penn. Yeah. Get to the tournament, Penn.
Get to the tournament. That can be.
You got to throw a pin on it. Penn. Get to the tournament, Penn.
Get to this tournament, Penn. What I could have done without today was the news that came out early this morning. Shams Charania reported it for ESPN. San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich suffered a health issue before Saturday's game, and assistant Mitch Johnson is expected to be the interim head coach for an indefinite period. Including Monday versus the Clippers and Wednesday versus the Rockets. I remember Saturday sitting, obviously, Saturday I was more focused on college football. And I remember getting a notification saying, Pop's not going to coach tonight. Assistant, I guess it was Mitch Johnson, is going to fill in for him tonight. I didn't really think anything of it. I kind of was like, oh, that's weird, but I didn't really think anything of it. But to see this morning, this news come out that, Greg Popovich had a little bit of a health issue on Saturday, praying that all is well with him and that, it's just something very minor and he can, get back out there. But as we know, I mean, he is no... What's the saying? Spry chicken?
Yeah, spring chicken.
Spring chicken.
Spring chicken.
He's getting up there in age, and so I pray and I hope that this is something very minor and nothing major that would keep him out, for a long time or in his career as a head coach. So definitely praying for him, and we'll see what this Spurs team looks like without their head coach for at least probably the week.
Yeah, and that's a sensitive subject, especially on the crest of what happened to Coach Abdur Rahim last week, even though, college, but still coaches are coaches, so well wishes all the way around. What I could have done with that, I'm going back to Arlington, Dallas, whatever you want to call it, to see my $60 million quarterback on the sideline saying, we effing suck. It's no bueno. And then you pile that up with, after you say it, now you I guess you are really injured, and now you're down. So that's what I could have done without the entire performance of Dak Prescott. Dakota, you are a leader of men, and I expect you to be that. Hail State. Remember that, good sir. But I just could have done without it. I'm pretty sure the team is looking at him like, dude, what are you doing? Maybe he has enough equity in that locker room where he can say stuff like that. But if Brock Purdy ever let that utters out of his mouth, he can hit the door.
Yeah,
I'm serious, man.
I mean, it's weird, man. And I don't like where this team's at right now. I certainly don't like the injuries.
When we talking about Coach earlier, Coach Campbell in the Applebee's commercial?
Right,
I mean, come on, dude.
Cover that mouth. Now, I understand, it's a lot was going on at the time. You're losing. You're injured now. I'm sure a lot of emotions. I'm sure he, if you asked him today, hindsight.
Nope, I'm not going to give you that pass.
To take that back.
I think all that means is that you don't care. You're losing interest. When you come up with that many excuses, those are trending downwards.
Well,
excuses.
I told you at the start of the show. I'm done with.
I know, and I'm not piling on, but this is where we're at. Like I'm actually hoping that he turns this around, man. Like, I'm actually wishing for the best for you guys at this moment. Listen to that side, people. That's tough love right there, y'all.
I don't hope he turns it around. Is that bad to say?
You got him for the next 3 or 4 years, baby. $60 million per.
Maybe I do hope he turns it around, that someone would make a bright decision and, maybe while his stock is high, ship him.
Trade him to Seattle.
But nobody's trading for him. I mean, it's too much money. Nobody's trading for him. It's, he's your guy. He's my guy. And I'm not happy about it, but that's okay. Where are you beaming tonight?
Oh, beam me to the FedEx Forum.
Absolutely.
I want to go there. I will be there shortly. You got to see how Penn and this team comes out. They've heard it all, and hopefully Penn has put away the social media. He's told the guys don't read the papers. Right. Something that I'm pretty sure his previous teams did quite a bit of it. Yeah. If you think about the jaw jacking that they all did, but put it all away. I want to go out there. I want to see a convincing win, not by 4, not by 3, but let's have a true victory. Let's win by 15, 20 points and let the world know that you're here, Penn.
Yeah, I would love that. And I hope they get off on the right foot tonight. So since you're beaming there, I'll beam somewhere different. How about 2 games I'll beam to? I will beam, the first game I'll beam to is this USF in Florida game tonight. I don't know what the line is right now. I know earlier this morning, Florida was about a 10-point favorite. Really excited to see this USF team this year. I know last year was, the year where they really looked good. They played well. They went on that long winning streak. But now we know the unfortunate passing of head coach, Raheem and Amir Abdur-Rahim. And, so what does this team look like? I think they're all going out there and wanting to win for him, so I think it could be a very emotional night in that game between USF and Florida. And then you got to beam, if you're a college basketball fan, you got to beam to the game tonight between Gonzaga and Baylor. That's going to be the big one later tonight at about 10:30. But a lot going on tonight. You've got the NFL with Tampa Bay and Kansas City. You've got all of the college basketball. Every NBA team's playing, so the Grizzlies tonight on the road against Brooklyn. A little bit of everything. And a quick reminder, reminder, Ole Miss basketball tonight against Long Island. Pregame at 7 o'clock for that 7:30 tip. That's all the time we have. Thanks so much for listening. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Tasty